fading. We gotta go. I'll get my car.
What, mine?
Yours. I gotta get me one of those.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Batman's Discussions. I am really excited for this one. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice review. And let's see who I have in the chat. Restore the Snyderverse guy. What up, man? Bat Fanatic. The Batman Who Laughs. Trevor H. Red Hooded Outlaw. Oracle's Clock Tower. Good Soldiers Follow Order 66. Hashtag Justice for Fives. Beyond the Night. Super Bro. Huh. And we got Kaiju. What up, Josh? Thanks for stopping by. But what I noticed with most of these people, these are all Bat Channel people. This is the Bat Channel's audience. Who could we have on right now? Well, I did my Man of Steel review with Super Bro Corey, so it only makes sense that I bring him back for the sequel. What up, Super Bro? How are you?
What's up, everybody? How we doing today, man?
We're doing well. We're doing great. there's a little bit of a lag with you, but yeah, we're all doing well. We're excited to have you on. Are you ready to talk some Batman v Superman today?
Oh, that's what we're talking about today?
Yep.
I thought we were talking about Man of Steel again. Who really cares about that other portion of the what did he say it was? I just heard Superman.
Okay, you know what, Trey? Just you and me today.
Hey, greatness recognizes greatness. Bat Dance Thoughts, Bat Channel, who needs Super Bro. I mean, there's a reason why Batman comes before Superman in the title, so I don't know. I don't know. That guy, I can't believe you invited him. Remember when I posted on Twitter? I was just like, seriously? We're doing a show with him? Ugh, gross. Ugh. How's it going?
You know what? It's going great. It's going really well, and we'll bring you back on, Super Bro. We'll bring you back on.
Meh. All right, I see how it is. I'm surrounded by a bunch of bat freaks, so yeah, I guess we'll talk about Batman v Superman today.
Absolutely, the story's not complete without it.
Why are we talking about Batman v Superman today?
Oh, we'll get into that. Actually, but before we get into why we're talking about it today, have a quick reminder for everyone. So for those of you who don't know, I'm in a movie called One Punch Man, written, directed, and produced by our good friend Zod Rider. And it's coming out for a tentative release date of July 11th, 2025. If certain things take longer, the release date will be delayed because unlike a certain DC co-head, Zod Rider cares about quality and will not compromise the project for a release date. So July 11th, 2025. And Trey and Corey, Zod Rider was talking about doing a Just Josh spinoff with a feathered kaiju.
A feathered kaiju that better not look anything remotely like Godzilla, or Toho's going to sue that ass.
Actually, yeah, be very careful with that. Toho is one of the worst copywriters ever. They're on everyone's case.
I didn't say. There's a reason I didn't say a feathered Godzilla. There's a reason I did not say feathered Godzilla.
That's good.
Whoa! Why does he have to be purple? Is it going to be like Barney style? Maybe Barney's going to see you then.
Hold on, he's a feathered purple kaiju. Is he going to start singing "I love you"?
Does he love pumpernickel? I like pumpernickel. I like pumpernickel bread.
Are you guys excited to see some One Punch Man this summer?
One Punch.
One Punch, yeah, dude. It has been very impressive to see what Zod has been able to do with AI. I'm still skittish about AI. AI still freaks me out. I still have my own issues and insecurities with it, but what Zod has been able to do in terms of storytelling, it's actually kind of fascinating. I'll be curious to see how the final product turns out.
Same here.
Yeah. You guys are treating AI a lot better than what I guess I can't speak for Trey. What I'm treating, how I'm treating AI. I'm normally a pretty good person, pretty nice person, but when it comes to AI, I'm pretty sure when the Terminators do take over, I'm going to be like, I probably surpassed John Connor for #1 hit list. So I'm pretty awful to AI, and yeah, no, I am excited to see what Zod does with One Punch Dan. It's definitely going to be interesting. AI freaks me the freak out though. It's weird to me. So I'm definitely curious. Like I've seen some of the Corey is Superman. Of course, he thinks it's Brainiac. Absolutely, I think it's Brainiac. I think it's insane what they're doing. Like when I see the videos of you, Dan, in that One Punch Dan, some of the clips that he shows of us, it's a little too freaky for me, bro. It's a little weird. So it scares the heck out of me, but I'm going to support Zod, and I'm going to support you as well, Bat Dan. So I'll definitely check it out for you.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. And hey, I'm not gonna lie. I still have the same reservations about AI as you do. I So part of me wishes it would just go away, would just like fall in a black hole and die. But the way I look at it, it's here
Do you
whether
wanna
I
kill
like
it
it
with
or
me?
not. So
We could
Can you
break
cut off?
into Cyberdyne. Do you want to kill it with me? We could break into Cyberdyne systems. We can bring in some bombs, and one of us can just.
As Cyborg's dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just blow the place up. We could do that. This video is immediately being taken down already. It's we talked about blowing
AI's
up
already
AI.
been like
It's just
thumbs
like
down on Super Bro.
see, that's what I'm saying. John Connor would not be happy with us people with what we're doing with AI. That's all I have to say. John Connor would not be pleased. You know who you are out there who's doing this. Just saying.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it definitely freaks me out, and I've had to tell Zodwriter at certain times, hey, we're not having this conversation at nighttime. So but it's here whether we like what up the Curly Ray. But hey, it's here whether we like it or not, so we're going to enjoy it, and this will be the superhero movie of the summer, not that other movie. But hey, the movie is going to be dedicated to Mikey Sutton and James Gunn's dad.
I don't know.
Add the second part.
It's because it's supposed to come out on July 11th, 2025, which is Papa Gunny Poo's birthday. And since James Gunn made the Superman movie all about his dad, Zodwriter's doing the same thing.
That's kind of funny.
That's about the most savage thing I've ever heard.
Is his dad still living?
No.
Okay.
My favorite thing, my thing is James Gunn brought it into public, so it's fair game at this point. This is not something he kept private. This is something he made out in the public, so that's what you get.
Yeah, that's fair.
What up, Sean Franklin?
Terminator's going to kill Zod as well. Just saying. Oh my Zod, yeah, I like that.
Well, anyways, guys, check out One Punch Stand, July 11th, 2025, tentatively. And now let's answer a question Super Bro asked. Why BVS today? Why are we doing BVS today? Well, today is the 9-year anniversary of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Based off the United States, I'll say. I know some other people saw it a day earlier, different time, but this is the day it came out in the United States, so this is a celebration to us all. I guess, real quickly, what was it like when you guys first saw this movie? We'll start with you, Super Bro.
I think you should start with Trey.
I already know what Corey's gonna say, so I'll just take. So I saw it before Corey because I did the premiere night on Thursday, and I, like a lot of people, I wasn't sure about it because anyone who's watched the Bat Channel has known that I've said this before about Ben Affleck. When I first heard he was taking the role as Batman, I was like, what the hell are they doing? This is the dumbest idea ever. I was even one of those people that for the first time, I'm still not proud of it because I had never done anything like it before, where I went on to social media and tweeted at Ben Affleck that was like, hey man, we both know you're not right for the role. And here's my reason of why I was angry at first. To me, if you were trying to create a universe, a connected universe, it made sense to me at the time. Well, why not just bring back an established Batman that is already popular and you could give it some time where technology has gone up a little bit and it makes sense for his Batman to be in this world, especially with Christopher Nolan producing. So I was like, why is it not Christian Bale? Why are we not coming back and doing Dark Knight Returns as the fourth, movie or whatever to have Superman in there? And so, yeah, so I tweeted at Ben, not proud of it. It wasn't until we first saw that black and white picture of Ben Affleck in the suit next to the Batmobile where I ate my words.
You sure about that?
Well, Corey always had faith about Ben Affleck. He was like, no, dude, he's going to be great. But I think
I didn't just say he was going to be great. I didn't just say he was going to be great. I said he might be the best representation of Batman and Bruce Wayne we've ever seen cinematically. Ever. is what I said to be
He
exact.
did
Trey.
say that.
That's why I said to be exact. As a Superman guy, I said Bruce that he might be the best Bruce Wayne and Batman we have ever seen in our life.
He did say that,
And that was right after Christian Bale. That was right after Christian Bale, buddy.
I know, Beyond. So to me, it was just one of those. And at this moment, I wasn't exactly aware of who Zack Snyder was yet and everything he had done in the past. So I was literally just going at this as a fan of DC. And when I saw that they were doing a Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller Batman, I started to get excited because that is my all-time favorite DC comic. And going to the theater that day, and the moment, the beautiful lie, the scene, like how many times have we seen that scene, right? Everyone talks about, we don't need to see Ben Parker die again. You know, we don't need to see Uncle Ben die. We don't need to see these characters die. We know they're origin story. But what Zach did with that beginning scene, it immediately put me back in that place where it was just probably one of the best ways I've ever seen someone kill off Bruce's parents. It was so cinematic. It was so metaphorical. It was just a true like comic coming to life straight out of the Frank Miller comics that I was like, oh my God.
For you?
It was emotional. I cried. I'm not afraid to admit I cried, Corey, because it just hit on a level. And when I'll let Corey say the next part, but yeah, I remember opening night. I was blown away then. I immediately got it. Honestly, I didn't need an Ultimate Edition to appreciate the film in the way that I did, even though the Ultimate Edition is a far better cut. But the theatrical cut, I was immediately on board. I was like, I know what we're doing. I know what's going on here. Like, I love this universe that we're building. I'm in. So Batman v Superman is what got me hooked, had me looking up, seeing, okay, who directed this? Like, who made this movie that I'm crazy obsessed with? And I was like, oh, it's Zack Snyder. Oh my God, he did 300. I love 300. 300 was one of the greatest films in like the first movie that opened my eyes to cinematic masterpieces, even though like Jurassic Park, all that stuff. But it was like the first time I really went like, I was born after Jurassic Park. I didn't see the benefits of not having CGI like that when it first came out. 300 was a revolution of like what cinema could be. So you started connecting the dots of the type of content and films I like, and it was like, okay, well, Zack Snyder is a part of a lot of those. So okay, like I clearly dig some of his stuff, which made me a fan. Yeah. But go ahead, Corey.
There's not very many movies that maybe a little over a handful of movies that I vividly remember going to see, specifically sitting in the movie theaters and reactions and such like that. You know, Godzilla is some, you know, which I'm sure that surprises Trey, some Godzilla, Lord of the Rings, some Star Wars movies, 300, for example. But Batman v Superman, I vividly remember sitting in the theater and super excited. I was ready to see. Trey told me that I was right about Ben Affleck the night before, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm glad to be right, but I knew it. So okay,
not even 24 hours from when I saw it, I was like, Corey, my family, like we're all going to go see BBS. Like,
so here I am sitting in between my brother. Trey was on the left. No, Trey was on the right. And my other brother, James Bidjasses, was on the left, and Jameson was, and here I am, and the opening scene comes on, and Bruce Wayne's parents, you know, pretty dramatic scene, and all of a sudden I hear one of those, and I look to my right, and Trey is just sobbing, and then I look to my left. And my other brother's just sobbing, and then I hear one of those, like, you know, like ain't like mad crying, like one of those things. I'm like, I look back at Trey, and I couldn't help but I laughed. I laughed in the middle of that scene as Bruce Wayne's parents were being killed horribly in front of him, because here I am sitting in the middle of my brothers, and they're just like sobbing. absolutely sobbing. And yeah, I know I should have a heart, Oracle, but it's a brother thing more than a heart thing. So I do have a heart, but you know, as
He has
being
a heart.
brother,
Yet in the middle of the theater, he went.
yeah,
And
I did
everyone
laugh.
just turned to Corey, gave him a death stare.
No,
you know,
no,
like,
there was another person that started laughing in the theater as well. So another person started
Corey.
laughing as well.
he
So
enjoys his brother's pains.
well,
True older brother.
I was
You guys are
sitting
looking
like
at
the girls were the girls were there. Sarah was there, and I believe right, Trey, and
Yeah, she was. Yeah, we
the
were
other
dating
one
up with
was
them.
there, and they're like both acting normal, you know, in the scene, and here I'm just surrounded by my brothers crying. So how could you not laugh at that? Did you cry, Batman?
I was just excited the whole time. I mean,
You didn't cry.
When I-
You were excited that Bruce Wayne's parents died.
I was excited to see the movie. I was excited to see this movie because I'm not gonna lie. This is what made me realize how much not to trust critics and how much the media lied. Because I heard all this negative stuff about it. I'm like, oh no, this can't be right. This can't be a bad movie. This has to be good. This can't be a bad movie.
Mhm.
And then when I saw it, I'm like waiting for the movie to get bad. I'm like, okay, when does it get bad? When does it get bad? And after the movie, when I got in my car, I screamed, fuck every critic. I was like, fuck every critic. Even blank YouTuber that I watch frequently. I was like, this movie was so good. And we'll get into some of the I don't want to say too much yet because we'll get into a lot of these topics, but let's just say there's a lot that I cannot believe were actually criticisms of the movie. I was shocked that some of these were criticisms of the movie. So
You could tell they're premeditated, you know.
yes, exactly. We'll get into we will get into that. We will definitely get into that. So now
You
before
teared
we
up,
start,
Bat Fanatic. You weren't like ugly crying in the middle of a theater. That's a difference. Like Trey was straight up ugly crying in the middle of the theater, and my other brother was ugly crying. Like it was an uncomfortable part for me. Where's your heart for me, guys? I was in between two dudes crying.
That's hurtful.
honestly though, it doesn't surprise me, Corey. Like that, your response, Corey, does not surprise me at all. If we're gonna be honest here, so
Yeah.
Right? See?
Well, it's just like it's one of those things where, like, for as good as the Dark Knight trilogy was that Christopher Nolan did, Batman Begins is easily still the best solo Batman film of all time. But like when you think about, like, you want to see your comics, the things that you like grew up and you love come to life, and everyone has had thrown their pizzazz to it, you know, as a director, their art style, and then all of a sudden you see Zach, who obviously big fan of the Frank Miller comics, literally taking the scene and artwork of the comics and bringing it to life. And it was like it was so powerful in a way where it's like, oh man, like I'm seeing my favorite comic come to life. But not only that, I'm seeing it treated in a way where this Batman, I'm starting to understand. I remember listening to, and I know I know we're going to talk about this later, but there were just so many things that I think were unexpected. Like Man of Steel caught me off guard. I was never a big Superman fan. Saw Man of Steel and I was like, oh my God, like he's actually not a boring Boy Scout, go America character. He's complex. He can be complicated, but not only that, humble. He was a humble Superman trying to figure out his humanity and where he fits into that. And then here you have Batman, who is very much the different Batman that we've ever seen, but he's still so rooted into his comic sources. So I was partly emotional because watching it a second time, not 24 hours later with now my brothers and their girlfriends, I knew you could start to piece together some of the beginnings of what Zach had intended the arc to be for Batman. So it hit even harder the second time, you know?
Yeah, and I can't wait to we'll get into a lot more of that very soon, but we're gonna get on. We have one more thing because we have a lot to cover right now,
Yeah.
and just quick reminder. So, swear to God, StreamYard is so buggy sometimes. You can try to change topics. Okay, here we are. So, Make the Batfleck Movie. Organize a trending day today for Make the Batfleck Movie. This is to show our interest to see that Batfleck movie being made. So, show your support. You can do it multiple ways. They have it do Make the Batfleck Movie, restore the Snyderverse. Me, I write out Make the Batfleck Movie as a non-hashtag and use the sell hashtag, sell ZSJL to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. Because at the end of the day, we want to show our interest to see that Batfleck movie made. And yeah,
When is
if
it,
there's
Goddamn?
time. What?
Oh, it's today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know either. And it's so funny because I was literally just talking to those guys. So shout out to the Make the Batfleck team. You guys keep finding a good fight.
No Joker's Wild, he did not. He was talking about his experience with Justice League. Variety, like Penske Media always does, they misquote stuff. They have misleading headlines. And honestly, I know I bring this up too much, but I have to bring this up right now. With the way Variety has lied about Ezra Miller, I do not trust anything they say. So do not trust the mainstream media, guys. Like we've learned better than listen to critics. Do not go off a headline. So, but yeah, sorry. Today, Make the Batfleck Movie is today. So keep hashtagging, keep trending. I did all my scheduled posts yesterday. So let's show our interest, show our demand to see that solo movie get made.
You know what? Everybody open up Twitter right now. And let's hashtag it.
Do it.
Officially, I condone Make the Batfleck Movie and written, sell ZSJL to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. That's what I officially condone, but do what your heart tells you. I'll say it like that.
Was not to throw in a plug with another channel, but someone did an interview with Wayne T. Carr, our Green Lantern of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they asked him that same question of what's the important thing to do when it comes to the hashtags of the community, and he simply put it as, and I'm paraphrasing, but if you want to see the full quote, go watch that interview. But he said the fact that you just are making your voices heard and creating demand is important, So I appreciate that Wayne kind of gave his 2 cents, who also did retweeted the sell Snyderverse and sell ZSJL to Netflix tweet recently. So, I mean, making that demand further, is going to help the cause in the long run, I think. So keep doing what y'all doing.
Well said, Trey. Well said. And now, let's get on to the review.
Just tweeted. There we go.
Thank you, Corey. Now, the story. We're trying to avoid a rhyme, which I said, thank you, Corey. And then I was like, oh, crap,
Corey,
we're going to rhyme
the
now.
Story of Corey.
So, you know what? How about, actually, we'll go to you, Trey, just so we don't have to rhyme. So, Trey, the story.
Well, I mean,
and then Corey.
How do you want to break this down in terms of the story? Are we going scene by scene here? No.
No, God, just a general overview of the story.
Yeah. I think one of the best things I ever heard, and honestly, it kind of makes me mad when thinking about, calling it Dawn of Justice is cool. We all knew what that meant, right? We all knew it was the lead up, the build up to Justice League. But if I seem to recall, Zack Snyder had an interview shortly before the Zack Snyder's Justice League came out, where he said at one point him and Chris Terrio were discussing calling it Son of Sun, Night of Night. And to me, that title, while it's very artistic, and I get why Warner Brothers wouldn't want us, put that title because it should have Batman and Superman on there because those are the catchy poppin' things. Calling it something like that, Day of, Son of Sun, Night of Night, I think really shows kind of the thought process they had about the movie. Having Batman v Superman be a deconstruction of what we have seen in the superhero genre. We've always seen Zach kind of really create complex storytelling with the superhero characters, but Man of Steel, while it was still complex, in my opinion, it very much is a superhero movie, just done in a very critical thinking way. Batman v Superman it's really a drama in a way where you have two opposing ideas and honestly a reflection of our society at that time. And when you think about how ahead of the curve Zack Snyder was in terms of storytelling with, how would we perceive this Superman character if an alien creature came down and had the power to wipe us all out if he wanted it to, how would we react? I have a hard time believing that we would just be like, oh, we got a Boy Scout on our hands. He's going to save a cat out of a tree. Really? Why? But to get this idea of and Superman, it's a lot to ask of one person to solve all of our problems. What does that do to his psyche? Some people are going to love him. Some people are going to hate him. We see it on social media, right? You can't make everyone happy. And seeing Superman kind of go through that and try to find himself in that, where does he stand? Where does he place himself? Does he try to bend himself to the rules of humanity in America? Or does he try to just do the right thing? Is he a guy that's just trying to do the right thing? And here you have a Batman character who is being manipulated by the puppeteer of the whole movie, but he also has his views. We see it in that opening scene of Metropolis, where we see Batman as Bruce Wayne was very much a part of that whole Man of Steel scene at the end. And we see that this little girl who's going through the same exact thing that he did, which is why it was important for you to see that beautiful lie scene in the beginning, seeing him lose his parents, that feeling of helplessness and powerlessness, to see that little girl going through that same thing. And who's to blame for this? We're all looking for that person. Who's to blame for the destruction of the city and this girl losing her parents? Well, there he is. There's that guy flying through the sky. He's the problem. Well, I'm never going to let this happen again. It's that idea that Batman, I can't let this happen again. It's that obsession that he has with his mission. So it was all perfect with the characters, the rooted things that we know from them in the comics. But what do you also say to a Batman that's 20 years into this career? He's seen a lot of loss. He's seen a lot of good people turn bad, or maybe good people die. What happens to that Batman when he loses his way? Who can bring him back? Superman, right? And to me, it is just one of the most brilliant, well thought out stories that Chris Terrio has ever written, that is just so powerful. And I think you can spend years trying to break it down, try to figure out all the metaphorical pieces, the things that Zach and Chris Terrio are trying to say through imagery. And I don't think you'll be able to find every piece just yet. And that's why I love it so much. I watched it recently. Sarah and I, we always do every year, the beginning of the year, we do a marathon of our favorite movies like Lord of the Rings and, the Snyderverse films. And watching BVS Ultimate Edition, I was still moved watching it and still finding things that I enjoy and new things to improve my enjoyment even further. So it's a story ahead of its time. Yeah.
Absolutely, Trey. Absolutely. And I'm glad you said Chris Terrio, because actually, what some people don't know, David Goyer wrote the film initially, and I think it was like Ben Affleck who had issues with the script, and that's when Ben Affleck was actually the one who brought Chris Terrio on to do some I think he like did some regrets, like Chris Terrio, for example. He was the one who made it that Batman did not brand Lex Luthor at the end. Like Chris Terrio was like, no, Batman cannot be branding people at the end of the movie. We need to show that development. And it's such. Before I get on to this, Corey, your thoughts on the story?
Yeah, no, I think Trey worded it really well. I think the coolest thing about this is like when we first really got to see a live action Batman that was at it towards his end of his career. It's a very older Batman than what we're used to seeing a lot of the time. So our first take of Batman was a rough, just seeing the worst of humanity, and now he's dealing with this crazy, alien, person that could destroy everything that he saw that happened in Man of Steel. So it definitely did make sense why there was the grudge where it was, and I just think it was really well written. How they kind of intertwined with each other, and then eventually realizing that he needs Superman. So it's just really well written, beautiful story all the way around. And like I said, I knew Ben Affleck was going to hit so hard in this movie
Trey,
as Batman, and like not only did it do well. Did he do well? But this story that he played did extremely well, and I love what Dennis Medina says here. Batfleck has PTSD. He absolutely did. He saw the craziness of the world, and now there's something that he hasn't seen before with the events that took place in Man of Steel. So it was he was back to the books, to the drawing board on how to stop a new potential threat to the world, and who better than Batman to solve it and figure it out. So yeah, I liked the back and forth quite a bit between the two, and then yeah, I don't know how much are we doing the full story right now, or I know you're going to break down into.
We're gonna break it down, so don't go. If you do the full story, we'll spend them.
Yep.
3 hours. But but the fact that I had to kind of like say that, it just shows how good the story is, though. The fact that there's so much to talk about. And I guess for me, what I really like about this story is that a lot of people, when they criticize the movie, they want, this is what they wanted. They wanted the animated world's finest movie, basically, where, oh, we don't get along because we have different ideas. Now we get along and we're friends now. And it's like, okay, that sure would have been cool, but that's such a basic story, and it's been done already. Why should Zach do something that's been done? And this is what I like about the story, is that Zach made it work with what he was given, because Zach wanted to do another Superman movie originally before he did a crossover movie. He wanted to do Man of Steel too, and then Warner Brothers fast-tracked it. But what I like what Zach did, though, is that he made it work for this story. Like, a lot of people think that, oh, we needed Man of Steel 2 before Batman v Superman. And I disagree, because here's the problem. If you do it, like, why this conflict works so much is that the only threat that happens that Superman stops is the Kryptonian invasion, which some would look at as Superman's fault because he's Kryptonian, they're Kryptonian. So it makes sense that even though Superman saved the day, it makes sense there's someone like Batman who hate him. If you do a Man of Steel 2 before that, one of 2 things has to happen. One, you have to have some threat that could no way be looked at as Superman's fault. Then you go, why does Batman not trust him then? The story would not work. Or you have to have another instance where it's somehow tied to Superman, like maybe Brainiac's Kryptonian, like in the DCAU in Smallville. And then you go, well, is Superman really a hero then? Because now it's like there's like 2 threats he's causing. So that's why this works so perfectly to have this as the sequel, the direct sequel to Batman v Superman. And I love it so much because you see how society would react. As you say, they didn't read Superman comics. You have a godlike alien coming down on Earth. People are going to be afraid of him. That's how that works. People are not going to accept him.
Yeah.
And then seeing like how Batman would actually be, someone who actually like has fought crime for 20 years. This guy has seen shit. He lost his Robin.
Mhm.
And it's so, and this is what would happen. It's like, what I like is that Zach, when I say he's breaking it down to realism, like, obviously it's not completely grounded. I mean, you have Superman who can freaking fly, but it's like, it's more of like if this stuff existed in our world. Like Superman was brought into our world at the end of the day, and that's what makes this so great. I mean, really, I mean, I think, for example, Dawn of Justice itself would have been a great title for this film. I don't think it needed to be called Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
That would have been great too, yeah.
Because I mean, what I like about this, and like when I first all this advertising I heard for it, I was worried this was going to feel so cramped, that this was going to be a crammed film with Wonder Woman and the other 3 Justice League members are going to be in it. I even said before I saw the film, like, they should have just done Batman v Superman and then Dawn of Justice, like 2 separate films. But then I saw it worked so perfectly, and seeing what Zach is trying to do. Zach, like, this isn't like Marvel, where you're seeing one hero gets their own movie and then they team up together for a big crossover event. This is a 5 condensed arc that can be told in, like, you can look at these films by themselves. It's a complete story and there's spin-offs around it. It's like, in some ways, I know it's like Lord of the Rings, but also Star Wars, because Star Wars, you can watch the 6 films and it's a complete story. But also at the same time, you have other stuff like Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, Rogue One, Andor, Ahsoka. You have some great and some stuff that works with the story too. Like this, you have 5 movies that can be watched by themselves and spin-offs around it. So it really works for me. And I'm not going to say any more because I think I can't say any more without getting into the topic. So, but like the tone, well, I'll start with the tone. It's like, the tone was exactly what the movie needed to be. Like, some people wanted it to be funny. It's like, why? Like, people are hating Superman. Lex Luthor threatened to burn his mom. Lex Luthor threatened to burn Superman's mom. I saw one meme making fun of the criticism with a Superman smiling, going, "Oh, Lex, you rascal." But I like the thing with Zack. It's not Zack Snyder does what I call realistic tones. This is how someone like Superman would be reacting if this happened. That's how he would be. The tone is what it needed to be. But there's a hopeful tone at the end. It's the tone, I think, to me, is perfect. It's what it needed to be. It was a dark, serious movie, but how it would be, because again, if someone like Superman was on this earth, it would be divisive. People would be arguing. That's how it would be. Trey,
and I think Zach, he had an interview right after the release of BVS, and he was beginning to start working on Justice League. And he had people asked him, like, well, why kill off Superman at that time? And he said, he's just like, well, to me, it becomes that question of the why for the Justice League. If you have someone out there like Superman, what tells these outsiders, these strangers, that the world needs them? You know, in every way, it's rejected these heroes. Wonder Woman has lost her faith after years of seeing humanity destroy each other, even without the influence of Ares. Aquaman has seen how the world treats the oceans and how Atlantis rejects him and how they killed his mother, you know, and Cyborg is just a pissed off man whose opportunity and dreams have been taken from him, and he blames his father. So all these characters make no sense to come together if you already have a shining hero that can do as much as Superman can, but that creates the why, right? Like, Superman died. There is no one here to defend us, and I know a war is coming. I have seen it. I had a vision of it, and it gives the why of why Bruce Wayne, and I think more importantly, why it had to be Bruce Wayne all along to bring the Justice League together, because of what we know Zach was planning on doing with Bruce Wayne, especially Batman, at the final film. So it made it very important that Bruce was the man behind the team, rather than Superman, you know.
Exactly. And you had some stuff you were about to say. I want you to hold on to that because there's a lot to say about that later. But Super Bro, the setting and tone.
Yeah, I personally liked how the tone was. It was, that grittiness to it is the best way I can explain it. Is like the true grit of superhero movies. It was superheroes not necessarily in the best of light as well. Batman was clearly struggling with PTSD. He was, doing in some ways, I would say, questionable things as well when it came to some of the antics of dealing with Superman. But in the grand scheme of things, he had his reasons and purposes as well. So you don't see very often. Like I guess if you want to compare, a similar movie at that time with Civil War. Civil War took a lighter approach. It took in my opinion, Civil War sucked. To be quite frank, they should have stuck more truer to the comic books there. But
Comics were far superior.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So because the comic books for that does get a little gritty in the Marvel, not as gritty as it does in DC, but I think that's one of the things that I loved about the tone of it. It was so real. It was so, like you could feel the struggle with Batman and everything like that as well. So, and even with Superman at the end too. So it's, the tone was fantastic. It had that grit to it that I really liked that we typically don't see, and we're definitely not seeing anymore with superhero movies. That's for sure.
Thank you, Trey. Thank you for the reminder. And absolutely, Corey. Absolutely. And now Trey and Corey are big music people, so I cannot do a review on any movie without bringing this up. So I'll let you start, Trey, since I think this is like your topic. What's your thoughts on the score?
Well, I mean, you're a musician too, Batman, so I'm sure you can easily speak on this as well. But the score is phenomenal. The fact that Hans Zimmer, who did Man of Steel, who already had the tough task of trying to not outdo John Williams' incredible Superman theme, that everyone still regards that as one of the most iconic movie scores of all time from John Williams' Superman theme. But how to recreate that in a theme that fits that version of the character. And when you got the Man of Steel score, still one of Hans Zimmer's greatest scores of all time. Okay, well, he's already done Batman. You could tell he didn't want to dishonor or disrespect anything that he did with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. So who do you bring in? Tom Hokenborg, Junkie XL, to be Superman versus Batman. And I love that. I love that concept that Hans kind of recognized that he needed someone else to have a voice in Batman's theme. Now, even though Hans did create Beautiful Lie, the heavy, Batman's main theme that drove him forward in the song was Tom Hokenborg. And I loved they're very different scores, right? When you think about the Man of Steel Superman theme that they play throughout BVS versus Batman score, one is hopeful, and then one is very angry. It's very dark. It sounds like hammers clashing with the rage that Batman has. And I remember the first time I heard that Batman theme, and I was like, I don't know if it's as good as Batman 1989 with Danny Elfman, or if it's as good as the Dark Knight trilogy with Hans Zimmer's. Like it's simple. But that's because I didn't see the movie yet. The moment I saw the movie, and I was like, okay, this Batman makes sense. This is the Batman I've been wanting to see. The one that is angry, the one that is a bit out of control. in a sense. You know, he's lost his way. He doesn't have that reservation to hold back a little bit. He's not holding back anymore. He's punching the hell out of people. He's beating them to a pulp. And that was the Batman that I love seeing in the comics versus Dark Knight Returns. But like some of the Batman that you believe could, you know, maybe fall to the Joker. Like, did anyone really think that Christian Bale was ever going to lose his moments? You know, he was going to give in to the Joker. I don't think so. I think you believe Batman was always in control of himself, even when he lost Rachel. I think he learned how to deal with his anger, his tragedy. And this was a Batman who's had so much of it that he couldn't deal with it anymore. So to have a theme that was so dark and rageful that Junkie XL was able to come up with, it was perfection. I loved it. I loved what they did with Lex Luthor's theme. It really shows kind of the chaos that's going on in his brilliant mind. And then you have, I don't know how they'll ever, it's like one of those, like, it's so iconic now that, like, can you really beat this theme? The Wonder Woman theme. The fact that Hans Zimmer looked at it and was kind of like, okay, the inspiration he got from it was his cellist, Tina Guo, who I don't know if you've ever watched Tina play Batman, but she is a firecracker on the cello. Like, I've seen her play live, and she is a rock star. She just strings the hell out of her freaking cello. And she is definitely a representation of a strong female badass musician that I could see why Hans was like, well, you're my Wonder Woman. So I'm going to write you a theme that just shows that Greek aggression, that she's a warrior, right? She's confident in herself. And that theme now, when you think about it, it's one of those where, like, if you heard bum 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 bum, like everyone says Superman, right? Or if you hear bum bum, that's Superman now. But now you have this, like everyone's like, Wonder Woman, where is she? You know, that's how powerful that theme has become. To where, like, that's all you can hope for, is to create something so iconic, man. Like, I have the vinyl, I have the music sheets to play that stuff. Like, one of my favorite scores of all time, easily.
You know, it's funny, Trey, when you said you were hoping for the Danny Elfman's theme for Batman, like, how can you top that? I'm like, well, you got your wish in Justice League, because that's exactly what they did. They used the Danny Elfman theme for.
As a composer, when I first saw 20, and that's how I knew there was something wrong with that 2017 Justice League movie, was the music. The music was the other than, like, yeah, you could see the characters kind of looked weird and they kind of were doing stuff that you never saw Zach use them for. But it was the music, especially, where I was like, this is a composer who is egotistical about his writing. Hans Zimmer was able to recognize that his kick-ass score that he won an Oscar for The Dark Knight, and I believe he won it as well for Dark Knight Rises, or he was nominated. One of those, it doesn't matter. But here's a composer who just was acknowledged for creating one of the best Batman themes ever, Hans Zimmer. And he even said to himself in Batman v Superman, that theme doesn't work. That's not the same Batman. This needs a new Batman theme. And he did it. But you get Danny Elfman. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say Danny Elfman's a shitty composer. I'm trying to say he made a grave mistake. And it could have been time, because they were pressed for time when they were trying to redo everything, which was stupid. But, like, for him to go in and be like, well, my theme is the best. I saw him doing interviews like, well, my theme is Batman. No one knows a Batman theme but me. And decided to put that on Ben Affleck's Batman. Didn't it felt foreign? It felt like it didn't belong. That didn't represent who that Batman was, you know? It's so important. The music, a lot of people don't give it enough credit, but it really is the underlying character to any movie. And if you don't treat it with the respect that it deserves, when it's good, you shouldn't notice it in a way that it takes you out of it. It should put you further into it, which is why Beautiful Lie is so powerful. Like, it's partly why I teared up, was because it was the music was falling melodically, right? It was going down the scale. And that was to represent Batman's fall from grace, his fall into the darkness, his fall into the cave. And then creating that angry, he's Batman now, he's being taken to the light, but it's a beautiful lie. It's because he wasn't taken to the light, he was taken into the darkness and further into it. That made him the grumpy, lonely man that he was in that movie. And it's so beautiful and powerful in so many ways, man. Oh, I could talk about it forever.
Well, we'll go with you, Corey, because if we don't cut Trey off now, we're going to be talking about the score until 12 o'clock.
Yeah, probably.
Pretty much. Trey ain't wrong. And there's been some pretty heavy duty stuff that's been sitting in the chat. Sin Havoc with the Hans Zimmer and Tom Holkenborg over John Williams any day of the week. That was a huge comment to say. That's pretty impressive. I wouldn't say that. I would say I like them all three equally. You can't pass up on John Williams being the GOAT. I think Hans Zimmer is the GOAT now, and Tom Holkenborg is just right up there with him. But I think they did a beautiful job with the score. When you get those two involved, there's always going to be something unique. I think my favorite thing about them is they truly tell a story in their song. So it's a little like we already know Zack Snyder's super deep. So with the amount of depthness that those two put into the way they write things, the way little hidden themes that I was in band, I was a musician, but Trey, having music composing dreams and aspirations, as well as being a drum major, a guy who waves around his hands while the band's playing and such like that, the director and such. I enjoy watching him listen to specifically the BVS soundtrack because he gets excited when he hears little themes, and he'd be like, "Oh, did he hear that? Dude, that was so dope!" Like, even if we're not even watching the movie, Trey's listening to it, he hears something and he gets excited about it. And that's the level of amazing work that those two did with the score. So I enjoy listening to Trey just talk for hours about those two and the different things that he's hearing.
Absolutely. And, I think Trey honestly said it all. I think he broke it down very well. But again, it tells the story. It tells the story perfectly for each character. And I really love it, honestly, for Superman. For, Trey, you talked about it for Batman story. So for me, I love it for Superman's story. Just seeing how it plays, how the parallel it plays. Like he's here when he's talking about the whole comment about Superman was never real. This is, my world was destroyed. You hear that music. And you hear that same score when Superman's accepted. Earth is my world. You are my world, Lois. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but
yeah.
And the music tells that story so well. Or when Superman's flying up real high to stop Lex and confront him, the music that plays right there. And during the Martha moment, how beautiful lie comes in again, seeing how far Batman has fallen, seeing how Maxwell Lord realized that he let everything go too far. Oh, wrong movie. But
I still disagree with Hans Zimmer. Well, I think it was okay that he used it. I just think Patty ruined it. I don't think she used it well.
It was Hans Zimmer's idea to use it in Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, I think this scene just, because the song makes sense there. Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
But just, again, seeing how it all comes together, just seeing how it really affects Batman's story. Like, music is important, because without the music, you need it. It tells the story. Without music, there is no story. It's just, you really feel it. Like, the music communicates the emotions that you need to feel so perfectly, and that's so hard to do. And And I love that, again, seeing like Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL work together was so great to see. And I like that Junkie XL, even for Zack Snyder's Justice League, he used the correct themes for Superman and Wonder Woman, even though he did not compose them. I know Wonder Woman, he did his own theme too, but at least he incorporated Wonder Woman's traditional theme from BVS and Wonder Woman. That was so incorporated into what the theme he did, but it shows the importance of score. And that's why, to me, it's like you need, like, I did not like John Williams in Justice League, and I'll be honest, to this day, I will still say The Rock's biggest mistake was using the John Williams theme for Superman.
I agree. That was a mistake.
I think the only time I'd be okay with the John Williams theme for Henry Cavill's Superman is at the end of Zack Snyder's arc, when he's the Superman that we actually know.
That's an interesting idea, Bat. That's a fascinating concept of like, okay, because that's what people don't understand about Zack's 5-story arc, right? Which is where it wasn't that he's Superman, it's how he becomes the Superman that we all know and love in the comics. Do you switch the music when he is Superman? I don't. That's a fascinating. I would almost love for that to be like a question, a poll on Twitter on something that, like, once the arc is finished, do you change the Henry Cavill's theme to be Superman? He's no longer Man of Steel. He's Superman. That's interesting. I like it.
That would. You know what? Tori, talk about the opening. I'm gonna figure out how to do a poll.
Man, Trey, we'll get you started on the opening.
the opening of the movie.
Yeah,
I know. So of course, we talk about our opening night of how we felt about it. I just think it's one of the greatest ways to. It's the thing I'll say about it, because I know I've touched on it before. To me, when I briefly said it's important I'm okay with seeing the death of people again in stories, to see Uncle Ben die again, to see Batman lose his parents, to see Superman lose Jonathan Kent to a heart attack, or to see the destruction of Krypton. Because to me, yes, probably some of the audience has seen it before, but you never know when you have that kid who's sitting watching that movie for the first time. He's experiencing this character all for the first time. And to me, it's an important reminder to understand why this character is doing what they're doing. And in a way, it shows the obsession that this thing has caused some of them. Like Batman, he is obsessed with what happened to his parents. He can't let it go. Even though he has chances at a better life, he has all the money in the world, right? To have a better life, to move on from it, to enjoy the spoils that he has. And yet he can't let it go because he decided on that day, never again. That's what makes him the hero that we all love. It's not so much that, people say, what's his superpower? Oh, he's rich. But the truth is, what makes him powerful is his will. That's a superpower. He never freaking gives up. Superman would have had to have torn his freaking head off for him to have stopped what he was doing. He was going to see it through to the end. It's either, and I think that's just what makes that opening scene so important, because you go from why is he doing it? It's literally the two answers. Why does he become Batman? To why am I going to go after this Superman? We know who Superman is, right? We know Superman is our Boy Scout. He's the shining example of truth, justice, and the American way. And yet here's two heroes. How do you put them against each other? Zack found the answer to that in a way that was refreshing to the two characters and was also believable, because Batman, he is a man, right? He's just a dude doing incredible things, while Superman is a god. What does Batman is our reaction. He is the aggressive reaction to seeing someone of that power when we see the scene of Metropolis. And I personally just love it's one of those moments, right? Like when Corey was right. It's how do you know when Ben Affleck was going to be a damn good Batman? I felt like a lot of Batmans in the past, Michael Keaton, George Clooney, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale, have always kind of missed the Bruce Wayne part. Batman's kind of, he's not easy to play, but like I feel like that's the part people focus on. They don't really look at Bruce Wayne. And when you see Bruce Wayne, the city is falling down and he's running towards the destruction. That's who he is as a person. And then you see his heart break for the little girl and one of my favorite parts, the eyes that he's heartbroken, he's destroyed, he's right back, he's that kid again that lost his parents. And all of a sudden, what did he do many years ago when he lost his parents? He hated the person that took his parents away. He hates the person that took this girl's parents away. And the eyes just go to find the mission, and the mission is now Superman, to stop whoever has that power. It is one of just the best complexities of the character. And when I saw Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne convey all of those emotions within 5 minutes, it was like, okay, yeah, that's Batman right there. That is a Batman we've never seen, but that is a Batman that almost feels exactly like Kevin Conroy's Batman the Animated Series, and I loved it. I was in.
You know what? We'll hold on what I'm about to say because we'll get to that topic next. But Super Bro, your thoughts on the opening?
Yeah, no, I agree with Trey. You had to see what took him there, and I think that made him the Batman that he became. I had to look for it when we decided we're going to talk about this. Zack Snyder, like that scene where the bats are, in the dream where the bats are lifting them up. You hear, Ben Affleck, in the dream, they took me to the light, a beautiful lie. I was looking for one of the things that Zack Snyder said about it, and I found it here, and it said that the idea that in the dream, the righteous man, the good man, seeks justice, but that quest for justice leads him into darkness, and his own moral code is in question, or may only be a construct of his grief. So the lie of the light becomes justice equals light for Batman, which it's the opposite. So I think the way he shot it, the way he delivered it, shows exactly like what Trey said, how he's held this grudge, how he's held this anger that hasn't been distinguished, this fire that's just burning inside of him. And when he saw that happen to that little girl, that anger, it just felt was fuel to the fire. He was back into that dark moment of everything that he remembered from being a young boy in that situation. So like all the good, all the justice that he was doing in the midst of his career as Batman, he immediately kind of reverted back to that, childhood depression and anger, which was amazing. It was extremely well captivated in the opening.
And really, to me, this is the best, I think my favorite superhero movie opening ever, just my favorite movie opening ever. People say, oh, we've seen the death of Batman's parents so many times. Why do you need to show it again? People forget there's a big saying in storytelling. Show, don't tell. The trauma that Batman went through is a big part of the story. It's like I like what you said, Trey, when that little girl who lost his mom, that's who Batman saw. He
sees
him
himself in her. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So you need to show that, though. You need to show so that you can really picture how it happened to him. And again, you see Thomas Wayne's dying words, Martha. That's really important for a moment that comes later. But he says that it establishes, you needed to establish what exactly happened in that version of the death of his parents, because that tells the story right there. And then to actually see the end of Man of Steel from Bruce Wayne's point of view, that is so essential, because you're seeing the consequences that the destruction caused. Like, you see it in Man of Steel, but all the characters we saw were fine. Like, all the characters that we saw were fine at the end of the day. They almost died, but they didn't. But now you see, no shit, people died. This is what happened. Yeah. And that's so important to show the consequences of what happened, the destruction of what happened. And fun fact, I don't know if you remember what Zack Snyder said when he did that watch party of Batman v Superman on Vero. He said in the opening, that helicopter scene, Ben Affleck got in trouble with safety in real life. That happened because if you notice, Bruce Wayne, he gets off the helicopter before it lands. Safety was not happy with Ben Affleck for doing that. They were like, you can't do that. This is dangerous. You could get hurt. And of course, Zack Snyder kept that scene in because that was just the most authentic take. But I shouldn't condone that officially, because we should always promote actors' safeties, but that would make sense for Bruce Wayne.
Though, like, that is such a, and this is where I applaud Ben Affleck, because you can tell when actors kind of get lost in the role, right? Like, they become that character, they become that person. That is such a Bruce Wayne Batman thing to do. Like, he's no longer thinking of his safety, right? Because that's Batman. He disregards all safety to help people, to help others, to stop and prevent things that he's been fighting for. Like, I'm trying to remember if it's in, was it in BVS where Alfred says to Batman, just like, all your life you've been trying to prevent death, but like, oh no, it was actually one of the I think one of the Joel Schumacher movies, which is like, all your life you've tried to conquer death, prevent it, and sometimes you cheated death. He's just like, but you need to understand that sometimes it's a part of life, and even in that moment, Batman can't give it up. He can't give up that mission. And to me, that's like what Ben Affleck was doing right there. Like, when he jumps off too early of the helicopter, he's already, I'm in action. I'm Batman again. It's an addiction, and Zach plays with that throughout the movie.
Exactly. And and hold on to what you said, Trey, because we're going to get into that next. Yeah. But what I like about this too, this establishes Superman. This establishes this universe now in the wider DC universe, because in Man of Steel, it's only Superman characters. Yes, I know Martian Manhunter's technically in it, but there's no hint of him being Martian Manhunter until, no obvious hint, I should say, of him being Martian Manhunter until Zack Snyder's Justice League. So as far as that movie, well, I guess Major Ferris, I guess, too. Okay, but it's very minor stuff. It's mostly a Superman movie. But this scene establishes that, no, this is the wider universe. This is like the extended DC universe. To me, this is what introduces the DCU right here, is that opening, seeing Man of Steel from Bruce Wayne's point of view, from Batman's point of view. Because this is what establishes that we are going into the larger DC universe. And that's another key thing about this opening, and seeing. And, I'm going to just transition to Batman right now, because I think this works perfectly with what I'm going to say next. When Bruce Wayne runs into the smoke, runs into the debris while everyone else is running away, that was Batman to me. When I saw that, that was Bruce Wayne. That was Batman. And it shows his character. As large, as far as he has fallen, he still cares. I mean, think about it. This is a big CEO of a major company. He personally went there to make sure that one of his offices, one of his employees were okay. I mean, I put it like this. I worked for a bigger company once, like a really big company once, and I could not imagine the CEO doing that for us. I mean, I could not. I mean, that's a big thing right there. I mean, I could not, that was that shows Bruce Wayne's character. That shows Batman's character. And something you said, Trey. This is the first move, they really established Bruce Wayne's character. Like, Bruce Wayne is a character, and Ben Affleck is the only one, in my opinion, who has a good Bruce Wayne and Batman. Michael Keaton had a good Bruce Wayne, or Batman. Whereas Christian Bale, in my opinion, actually, I thought Christian Bale got Bruce Wayne down to a T, but as Batman, I didn't like as much. And then Robert Pattinson, I was a little easy on when I first saw him, but now I'm like, no, he just was bad at both. But anyways, but Ben Affleck got it right. And you mentioned Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy himself praised Batman, but I like the story. You see how far he has fallen. You see the death of Robin. You see Superman. The first time Batman was powerless, because that's the big thing people forget. This was the first time Batman himself was truly powerless when Superman and Zod fought him in Metropolis. He couldn't do anything. Batman could not stop it. And that's a big thing that drove Batman over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then to see him learning and evolving, learning from Superman to being back to the hero that we all know. Like, it's so great, but there's so many great stuff about Batman. There's the fact, like, Lex Luthor's party when he goes as drunk Bruce Wayne. I like those shoes. And flip of a switch. He's like, Alfred, I can't stay down here. Like, this is Batman. This is Bruce Wayne. Like, there is no, and he's smart. He knows what to do. Like, he's able to have a plan to, like, he deduced that the kryptonite spear will kill Doomsday. He figured that out. And he admitted he was wrong. This is one of my favorite moments about Batman, and we'll get into this with the warehouse fight scene, but I'm going to say this now because it isn't really necessarily about the fight itself, but what I love about that scene is you go from Batman wanting to kill Superman. He wants to destroy him. And now, after his development, he wants to save Superman's mom. He is going to save Superman's mom. Like, seeing Batman come to the light. That is... Trey, you go. You go for a little bit.
Save Martha?
We'll talk about that, Corey.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those scenes where I think what Ben Affleck was able to portray in a way was something that was never fully developed and touched on from Batman. I think in a lot of, and especially through cinematic history, we've always kind of seen Batman kind of peak, like he's in his prime. We did get a little bit of it in Batman and Robin, but they turned it into a joke that he was the old man of the group. But here you get the old rundown hero. He's been doing this for 20 years in Gotham. And what does that do to somebody? I do get the sense that he may have given up Batman at one point, and then it wasn't until and that's why he kind of got himself, you kind of see that Bruce is kind of addicted to painkillers. He's tries to take out, get things off his mind through sex, with that type of thing.
Being his wine cellar.
Yeah, wine cellar, right? He's an alcoholic. He's doing all these things to numb himself because he can't live. He can't go on living. And it is kind of that moment when the Kryptonians arrive that he kind of, I think a fire reignites in him. I think someone said that earlier. But it is a moment where this Batman has decided it was a great way to introduce a character. And I know a lot of people say, well, why didn't we do the Marvel formula of like solo film? We should have got a solo film with Ben Affleck's Batman before we did a Batman v Superman. Like you said earlier, Batman, it doesn't make sense because it needs to be our first interaction. If you had a Batman that was out there and he has a history that you see before the events of Man of Steel, then you kind of lose why Batman's so pissed off at him. You kind of lose that authenticity. Like what's going to bring those two together? Because they're polar opposites in a way. They come from two different worlds, literally. But even psychologically and even economically, they come through two different worlds. And I think Ben Affleck just does a great job with showing Bruce Wayne. Like one of my favorite scenes with his Bruce Wayne, where I was like, it was Kevin Conroy's Batman, right? Where he's just staring at his suit. And you could see no words are being said, but it's kind of that like he's mad at it. Like he's pissed off. He's like, he needs it. Why am I going to this freaking ball, this library fundraiser at Lex Luthor's house, as Bruce Wayne? I'm Batman. That's Bruce Wayne is a shade. He's the mask. Batman is who I am, and he's staring at it because he's angry because it's like he knows he needs it. He knows it's his addiction, his obsession, and he knows what it's caused, what it's taken from him, because as soon as he gets done looking at it, what's the next thing he sees? Robin's dead, burnt suit, and it's that
joke's
reminder.
On you.
Yeah, it's that reminder of how he's failed time and time again. And I think he's kind of said to himself as a general, if he's in war mode, right? He's like, this is a moment he can't fail. This is his legacy, right? Koj, what's up, my brother?
What up, Koj?
It's his legacy. It's what he needs to do. And I loved that aspect. But it's a Batman who is very much corrupted by his tragedy. It's not a Batman who has overcome it yet. And what makes it beautiful is, how do you take two characters who are polar opposites and how do you bring them together in a movie when they're still vastly different people? Have a character like Superman who's gonna change Batman's and Bruce Wayne's mind, about who that character is, of how he was wrong, of how Superman saved him from the darkness, and that's what I love. It's a two-part storytelling, right? Because we see Batman in the darkness, he is fallen, and then you see the confusion that he's in at the end of BVS, where he's like, I failed him. Like, what do I do? Like, there's a war coming. I'm going to honor him by bringing a team together. But you see a completely different Batman, right? In ZSJL. It's now the Justice League Unlimited, the Justice League animated Batman, where he's more hopeful because he's part of a team and he understands that Superman was the inspiration behind that, of him having faith. And that's, when you think about it, that is such a beautiful storytelling for Batman. BVS is the start of what is the beginning of an incredible arc for Ben Affleck's Batman, and people just had to have the patience to see it all the way through.
Absolutely. Corey,
Yeah, absolutely, Trey. I agree with you. And I knew from the get-go that Batfleck was going to be an amazing Bruce Wayne and Batman from the get-go. Right. But the storytelling and the writing that they did for his character was just absolutely phenomenal. I'm a little critical of, like the other Batman stories. Like in this one movie, I don't think we've seen that much character growth and character development really in any other Batman's in entire series in some ways as well. Like where he started to where he went was just incredible. Like we mentioned before, just the deep impact of his childhood traumas and how Superman, really kind of helped him work through that. Superman kind of saved him from, his parents' murder and everything like that, and going down, a super dark route that, he's even darker than what he's ever, really been before. So it's while I like to give Batman a lot of crap, it's really cool to see how this storytelling did such a great story arc and development for Batman's character.
Hey, that makes me so happy. Good Soldiers Follower 66.
Absolutely.
Well, like this, you said theaters. That's a big. You just said the answer right there. Theaters, Ultimate Edition, the theatrical version, two totally different movies, and And actually, we're gonna like a big thing this affected was actually, in my opinion, Superman and Clark Kent. I feel like I'll put it like this. I feel like the theatrical version is more of a Batman movie. I feel the Ultimate Edition is a Superman movie. Like
that's an interesting way of putting it. I can agree with that. Yeah.
And I guess, obviously Superman. So Super Bro, you start with this one.
Absolutely. Man, how amazing is Henry Cavill as Clark Kent and Superman? He just absolutely killed the role. I loved how it carried on from that Man of Steel, right from the Man of Steel vibes and everything like that. But I really enjoyed seeing more Clark Kent in that Daily Planet role as well too. So yeah, no, I think what more can we say about Henry Cavill? As Superman, he is one of the best Supermans we've ever seen. There, I think his chemistry that he had with Ben Affleck was phenomenal. There was a definitely. It just felt real. I guess is the best way I can explain it. Yeah, no, Henry Cavill as Superman was phenomenal. I don't know much more what I could say there. He does I know people give him crap for the whole oh, that's Superman, type thing. But just that, ability to save Batman, in a lot of ways, and help Batman progress, his life and everything like that as well. It was just really what
solidifies their relationship.
Yes, it solidifies
in
their
a
relationship.
quick amount of time.
Yes, absolutely, and that's why it's really amazing. It's kind of like how long is the extended edition? It's like almost a 3-hour movie. 2 hours.
Yeah,
it's half an hour.
Yeah. So it's like, man, in a 3-hour movie, there was that much character development between the two that makes Superman, do whatever he can to save the world and eventually try to bring back Superman. So, wow. Yeah, just absolutely amazing. I think their chemistry was a super great chemistry there.
Exactly. And Corey, I'm really glad you said Clark Kent, because this is where the theatrical version really kind of butchers it, because what I like about this movie is Clark Kent is a character. It's one thing I don't love about the Christopher Reeves Superman is Clark Kent's too much of a disguise. Clark Kent is too much of a like he's just a nobody character. Like Superman's the real character. But I like that Clark Kent's important too. You see Clark Kent doing the investigating. And yes, you do see it in the theatrical version, but it's very cut. Whereas you actually see Clark Kent go to Metropolis. You see him trying to interview the woman who testified at the Senate. You see him at the Gotham police station talking to the woman, the wife or ex-wife of that piece of shit who held woman captive. And you saw that, and that's what I think makes what's so important is you made Clark Kent an important character. And actually, one of the things, the only real contradiction between the theatrical version and the Ultimate Edition, I don't mean doesn't show something, because canonically could still technically happen in the theatrical edition if you don't see it, but when Clark Kent is making eggs, and actually this is the only difference in the only contradiction between the two. In the Ultimate Edition, we remember it's that same woman who's giving her interview again, saying, my family too had dreams. In the theatrical version, it's actually a news reporting about the bat branding, and they just kind of rush through the bat branding, and that's it. And that's what's really important. It's it's just, you cut that out. But it takes away so much. It's I love the theatrical version until I saw the Ultimate Edition. And once I saw the Ultimate Edition, I never really want to watch the theatrical version again. We'll kind of get into that a little bit later, but I love Superman's arc too. You go from him trying to struggle to find his place on Earth, find his humanity. It's like this is the pentology to become the Superman that we know. And I think Zack Snyder said somewhere, I don't remember the article, I can't find the article, but I remember he basically said at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, he essentially has his bachelor's degree as Superman. Whereas at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League 3, he has his master's degree. So he's still, in a way, Superman. You see him willing to sacrifice himself at the end, accepting that this is his world. And in that moment, this is the start, to me, the start of Superman being born, ironically, is Superman dying. And but think about this too. This is Superman. Lex Luthor threw the woman he loved down a bunch of stories, like killed her. Superman says, I'll take you in without breaking you, which is more than you deserve. He saved Lex Luthor from Doomsday after he threatened to burn his mom alive.
Yeah.
That is Superman right there. That you could not tell me that that's not Superman. He's just trying to, as they said, he's a guy trying to do the right thing. He's doing all these intervening and all the stuff. And it's hard to do. Like, how do you balance that out? Because it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If he does something, people are like, why are you getting involved? If he doesn't do anything, why'd you let them die? You can't win either way. And Trey, you go.
No, I mean, I think both of you guys brought up some like great points of why Henry Cavill's Superman was so intriguing, because Man of Steel, right? Like we really are kind of seeing him. It's day one Superman. People don't often think about that. It is day one Superman. He's going up against the Kryptonians, General Zod. Like, what did you think was going to happen? The city, of course, was going to get destroyed. And we are left with that really difficult question of who does he choose? Humanity, Kryptonians? He has that great scene in Man of Steel where he says, I don't believe Zod can be trusted. But to be honest with you, I don't know if the people of Earth can be either. It's that confusion of where does he belong in this equation of life? And because he is the child of Krypton, he is a child of Earth. He's posed with that question, right? And at the end, when he breaks Zod's neck, it's that difficult decision that he kind of makes the choice, right? He's like, well, I guess I'm a child of Earth and I'm going to protect it, even though it cost him a bit of his humanity in a way. But I think he makes a decision there where he says, I'm going to do my best. He's going to do his best to be Superman, right? To be this idea that his father had from Kansas. But how does the world react to that? That's what BVS is about. It's how does the world react to someone like Superman in the real world? You don't get the Christopher Reeve Superman, okay? There's no way people are like, oh my God, yes, Superman. You are going to have that 50% of the world saying, holy shit, there is a dude who could wipe us out in a blink of an eye if he wanted to, if he just felt like it one day, and people are going to be afraid. Governments are going to be confused because here is this individual that they can't control. This is not a weapon that they can press the button on. He can say no to them, and he can say, you know what, you suck. I think I'm going to take over. That's a scary freaking thought, and I loved that question. And while it is shown sometimes through metaphorically of viewing him as this godlike savior or viewing him as the devil from above, they do present that question. And I love that Superman he's kind of taken back by it, right? And that's the thing I love about Henry Cavill's Superman, especially, is that to me, it wasn't so much, it's not the love of flying. It's not the joys that come with Superman. It's the humility of Superman. That's what makes Superman great, is because he has humility. He's humble, and he's gentle with things. And when he's sitting there and he's kind of like, he's just trying to do the right thing. He's just trying to help. you know, and people are bashing him for it. People are saying, "You suck, dude. We don't want you here." And it's that confusion of like, you don't want me here, but I'm doing my best. Like, what more can I give you? I can give you my life, you know? And I think that that level of sacrifice that Superman does, especially at the end, that's why it's powerful to Batman. You know, it's that moment of this everyone, I hated him. I hated him. I wanted him dead because if there was a 1% chance that he was our enemy, right? And it's that moment of sacrifice where Superman didn't have to do that. He could have said, "Screw you guys. I'm going to another planet." And that type of sacrifice, it shows, like you all have said, why Henry Cavill Superman in that moment, it is in a way, while it's the death, it will soon be the rebirth of who we know as Superman. Um, and I loved that his Clark Kent was very much the golden age Clark Kent, reporter, detective, and investigator. And we all know it's kind of silly. Yes, Christopher Reeve, great actor, right? He created really that concept of creating the mask of that mask of Clark Kent versus Superman. But in a way, is it silly for him to do that? Yeah, it kind of becomes comical. It kind of becomes this thing where is it really believable that anyone would just maybe people just he can hide within plain sight from simple fact that like here's this silly boy from Kansas, who's not, there's no way he's Superman because Superman he's off doing grand things. Why would Superman spend 8 hours a day being a reporter? No one's looking within. And I just loved that him as Clark Kent, like you said, Batman, Clark Kent isn't a mask of Superman. Clark Kent and Superman, they are the same person. He is Clark Kent, but he also goes by another name, Kal-El in Superman. And I love that he treated that as he's one of the same. It's not a two different person. Superman is Clark Kent. Clark Kent is Superman, rather than Batman is Batman. He's not Bruce Wayne. It's why one of my favorite moments in the comics, I think it's when Batman in the comics takes the lasso of truth, or someone gives him like a
So
or it's like
the Trinity, they all hold on to it, and one of them asks their real name. I saw the image.
That's right. Thank you. And Batman says, right? He's just like, everyone's like, I'm Clark Kent or Kal-El, I'm Diana Prince, and he's like Batman, and they all kind of look at him like, what? Or in Batman Ego, he doesn't recognize himself as Bruce Wayne. He's Batman. It's that beauty of Bruce Wayne died when he was 10 years old. What came from that night is Batman, and he never let it go. Superman is the same person through and through. He is Clark Kent. He is Superman. He is Kal-El. He has embraced all those sides to him, and Henry Cavill does a great job of that all the way through. There's a reason why he is, as I love the way that Dwayne Johnson said it during his Black Adam press conference, he is our Superman. He's the Superman of our time, of our generation.
And perfect place to end that topic. But I do have one question. Don't you think that it would have been a little bit better if there was singing, if it was a bit of a musical? Because I feel that if it were a bit of a musical, it would have been so much better, right, Socks? Right, Socks? It would have been
Hope. It starts with an H, not an S. Hope starts with an H, dumbass. Not an S. On my planet, it means hope. I don't know where to go from here.
No.
Hey, I like it though. Job. I like it. See, Socks musicals can be great. Look at that. Yep, Socks, yep, exactly. Which, for those of you who don't know, this is a big thing on Marvelous Discussion. Socks hates musicals, and I always tell him how great musicals are. So, anyways, we'll stop right there because we'll get too off topic. But Lois Lane, another one where the Ultimate Edition cut out a key important part of her arc. a lot of key important parts of her arc. But to me, this is the best Lois Lane, in my opinion. And in this movie specifically, right here, this is Lois Lane, the investigative journalist who exposed Lex Luthor for who he was. Because these are the key things that the Ultimate Edition that shows that the theatrical didn't. You see her actually investigating the bullet with that one, I don't know what you call her, what type of job that is, the person who analyzes the bullet, that one. All her scenes, like all those segments are cut, so you don't see that at all. And then when Lois Lane realized that Wallace Keith bought groceries before he died, so he couldn't have planned on dying. But it just shows how smart Lois is. That this is this is a reporter, Lois. This is actually a reporter right there. You see her doing her investigative journalism. And that's what makes Lois so great in this movie, is that she really cares about what's right. You can really tell. Like the whole bullet at the desert. She was upset about that. She was upset that people died. And she knows Superman's a good person because, she loves him. She cares. She really cares. And she really and she's trying to help in her own way. And that's why I love Zack Snyder, because Zack Snyder, I think, does female characters better than any director, in my opinion, because he just makes them badass without, like, CW. The reason I say this is because I've watched a lot of CW Arrowverse where it's like they have to like dumb the men around them, or they have them do stupidly impossible things like Iris West jumping down a building,
or Lois becomes the village cycle. Everyone in the Justice League has had a ride.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, Trey. But we know, hey, only when we have us together. But I think I'm kind of like Corey. I think I can summarize Amy Adams as Lois is like very short and sweet. Investigative journalist. And we'll go next to Corey because Lois is a Superman character. So Corey, what's your thoughts?
Amy Adams did a fantastic job playing Lois Lane. I loved her in Man of Steel, and I loved her in all the movies Zach did. She great investigative journalist there, but she played a significant role in the movie, especially in helping save Superman and help bring Batman back as well too, being there in a crucial moment as well. So I know people don't like Amy Adams as Lois Lane, but I think she did a phenomenal job. I don't know if it's because of the red hair thing or what, but I thought
red hair sometimes in the comics, though.
Yeah, but I loved it personally. So there's something feisty about the way Amy Adams portrays it. She's it's not like and Lois has always been a little feisty, but like she's not. Amy Adams is not your typical damsel in distress, if that makes sense, as Lois Lane, and that's what I love about her. She is a go-getter. She's feisty. She is a phenomenal, human in the mix of all this action and everything like that. So I think that's the best way to explain Lois Lane.
Okay, Trey, your thoughts?
No, I agree. I think Amy Adams is a fantastic actor, and I think she brought something to Lois that we haven't really seen in iterations prior, where she is kind of, yes, Lois is always kind of feisty, but she has a gentleness to her too. Like she understands the weight that is on Clark's shoulders, and all she can really do is try to comfort him. Like his problems are not your everyday problems, of work, life, and she kind of helps guide him through some of those things, or just be there for him, be a listening board. And it was really nice. Like one of my, that scene with her in the bathtub where she kind of says to him, just like, I'm telling you, there's a cost, there's a consequence. She's explaining to him the realities of this world, just kind of like what Jor-El said to her. Like, hey, in time you can teach Cal the rules of this planet, essentially, right? To prepare him for the journey he's about to go on. And yeah, exactly, Koj. And I appreciated that aspect of her, that she is very much trying to guide him, help him. She's not this damsel in distress. She's not this person trying to like in the Christopher Reeves Superman. She's so hell-bent on trying to prove Clark Kent is Superman and Superman 2 that she puts herself in danger. She puts herself in, the line of fire. She jumps off into the Niagara Falls so Superman can save her. And that's not Amy Adams' Lois Lane. She's not a damsel in distress. She's not trying to create problems for Superman. She's not trying to, oh, look at me. I have my superhero bodyguard. She's very much a partner with him. And I think she just does a really great job of building their relationship that makes her all the more important to why she is the key to his soul, essentially, of what is to come in the future. I mean, clearly there's an arc that we haven't seen fully fulfilled, and some secrets that will explain just how important she is even more. So Amy Adams, I agree. She is I think what Zack Snyder has done in one of the most incredible things is just some of his casting choices. At first, I think people are kind of like, really, Amy Adams, like for Lois Lane? Why? And then all of a sudden, when you saw her in the role, she took it and ran with it. And I can't see anyone else as Lois Lane in a way, even though we said the same thing when we saw Chris Reeves Superman, when we saw Smallville's Erica Durance, Lois Lane, and Kate Bosworth in Superman Returns. They've all brought something kind of different to the character, but in terms of how I like to view Lois Lane, Amy Adams is that for me. So yeah, she's wonderful.
She is. And one thing too, when she put herself in the line of fire, she went to get the Kryptonian spear. She actually got something they needed to save the day. And before we move on from Lois, I just want to, or move on to the next topic, I should say, I just want to go over the poll real quick. So I closed it a little bit later. But so should John Williams' theme be used at the end of Zach's arc? We, out of 24 votes, 83% said no, 16% said yes. I still don't understand their rounding exactly because it always gets to 99%, not 100. But
yeah.
So, okay, so the whole idea I had about using it to transition, I guess. Oh, Sin Havoc says no. So
add that to it was an interesting thought. I thought that was quite. It's a fascinating, like in terms of like a composer storytelling that we were talking about earlier. That was a very interesting question, and maybe a question that Hans and Zach talked about. Of like, okay, he's been Man of Steel throughout my entire arc. Now he is the Superman that we all know. Do you play the theme that a lot of people associate with Superman? In my personal opinion, I like if I was a composer and I was left with that question, my answer would have been no. Like, we're not using John Williams' score. We're using the Man of Steel score. Because to me, that still defines who Henry Cavill's Superman is, and that John Williams theme perfectly defined who Christopher Reeves' Superman was. I think they should use a different score for Gunny's, Superman, but they're going back to John Williams, which just tells you tonally what they're hopefully going for, and hopefully it makes sense. If it doesn't, it'll definitely be one of the things I criticize heavily about, because it didn't work for Henry Cavill in Black Adam, like you discussed, Batman.
Or Justice League.
Yeah.
And Sin Havoc, we have Super Bowl Corey on, for goodness sakes. Don't bring that up. Super Bowl Corey was so good. And then look at you, Sox. Look at you, Sox, for bringing that.
He's probably going
right
to go
now.
grab it right now.
It is the love.
So, Wait, your Christmas tree is still up, Corey?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then never mind. Never mind. Okay, this is just gonna be Trey and me from here on out. Okay, fine. Fine.
That's so funny.
So, I'm going to say this because this is a point to troll Corey a little bit, but I actually do agree with this too. I know Zack Snyder didn't intend for this, but what I love about this scene about this Lex Luthor right here is that there's a scene when I saw it, to me, this was a screw you to something they did with Michael Rosenbaum's Smallville. Now, let me be clear. I think Michael Rosenbaum's a great Smallville, despite some of his comments as he's made. As Lex, he was great. But they ruined his Lex Luthor in the finale when they gave him a mind wipe, erased all his character development because he can't know Clark Kent is Superman, even though Smallville has taken so many liberties.
Spoiler alert, Batman.
It's been out for over 10 years, Corey. This is 14 years.
Not that I haven't seen it.
Well, that's because you keep going back to he keeps getting like towards the final seasons, and he goes back to season 1 because he can't, like, he doesn't want to end. He doesn't want it to finish. And it's like, for God's sakes, dude, I watched it before, like, I finished it before you. Oh God.
Wow.
Him and I are still arguing about that one.
Anyways, they ruined his character in the finale, though. And then Zack Snyder's like, fuck that shit. Lex can just know Clark Kent is Superman. It's okay. It works for the story. I mean, again, I'm not sure I don't think that's what Zack really intended, but it's just fun to pretend that that's how he looked at it. But I'm sorry, good soldiers, but to me, this is the best Lex Luthor, in my opinion. I know this is a hot take. But to me, this is Lex Luthor. This is the smartest Lex Luthor ever. He's a smart, manipulative Lex Luthor. People keep saying, oh, he's the Riddler. He's the Joker. Because he acts weird? Like, no, like, seriously, what makes him the Riddler and the Joker exactly? Acting weird is not, like, he, like, has, like, social issues. That's basically this Lex Luthor. But at the end of the day, he's smart. He is the smartest version of Lex Luthor, in my opinion, that we have out there. He was able to manipulate Batman, for crying out loud. Plus, he is the one Lex Luthor who actually succeeded in killing Superman. No other Lex Luthor has done this. Jesse Eisenberg did that. His Lex Luthor did that. But like Henry Cavill's Superman, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor has an arc too. He slowly becomes the Lex Luthor we all know. You see him, because in my opinion, that one scene in ZSJL with Deathstroke, he seems slightly more reserved than he does in Batman v Superman. He is becoming the Lex that we all know. It's arc, it's character. But what I like about him is that this is where the Ultimate Edition kind of screwed him up too, because a lot of his plan doesn't make sense. Why do they blame Superman for the desert? Well, because in the Ultimate Edition they show blowtorches with killing all the people they shoot, which is kind of important. Yeah. But this is Lex Luthor, and you see like that he paid that one woman to lie. Like, that's also important too. Like, that one, again, I don't know her name. She's in Loki, the actress, but she's only in that one scene in the theatrical version, whereas in the Ultimate Edition, she has a whole arc showing Lex Luthor's plan. Thank you, Koj. Thank you. And yeah, I'm sure we would have seen a lot more of him in ZSJL too, but Corey, you're the Superman guy. What's your thoughts on Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor?
Sure. Yeah, man. I was immediately when you said Jesse Eisenberg was the best Lex Luthor, I was like, man, that's a pretty big statement there. I think he was different enough as Lex Luthor. He was a different Lex Luthor that we've seen previously. Because I am a big Michael Rosenbaum fan as Lex Luthor. I love Gene Hackman, and I'm going to say it. I know it's kind of a little controversial. I did enjoy Kevin Spacey as
I did too. To me, he was a great version of Gene Hackman's.
Maybe not the person himself, but yes, absolutely. Yeah, Kevin Spacey, I thought, was a phenomenal Lex Luthor. So Jesse Eisenberg took some time to get used to, for sure, when I first started watching him in BVS. But I thought overall he did a phenomenal job. I guess every time I see Jesse Eisenberg, I think of Facebook, Mark
Social
Zuckerberg.
network.
So, and then I also think of oh gosh, what the Zombieland is typically what I think of when I think of Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, wait, that's the sequel.
What's that?
Double Tap, but that's the sequel to Zombieland.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but I thought he did a unique job of, you know, playing the mind games side of things. Like he really was able to manipulate Batman and Superman against each other and figure out a grandmaster plan, because you don't often see like somebody kind of fool Batman in some ways. Like, sure, Superman gets in traps from here and there, but Batman was even kind of fooled by Lex Luthor in some ways. So he was a very meticulous in his plan that was like Trey said, he killed Superman. So
I said
absolutely.
that.
Oh, excuse me, Batman said that. So no, I think Jesse Eisenberg overall did a really good role. I think the part that we don't have justice with the story not being continued is we don't get to see, like, this was like initial story arc for Lex Luthor, kind of for what we've seen in Zack Snyder's universe. We don't get to see really Lex Luthor at his full potential that we could have seen. So yeah, but still, I thought Jesse did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Trey, go.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, I agree with Corey. I think someone put it in the chat like he was like the biggest shock. Yeah, he was definitely one of those ones where I was like what are we doing, Zach? Like, like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. You don't see it. I think Zach did that often, right? Like he picked actors that maybe you didn't quite see. Why? Because you're looking at the comics, you're looking at what came before, but that's not exactly what Zach was going for. He didn't want you to see something you've seen before. And what he was doing was modernizing the characters, but not only that, he was putting them in a very realistic world. And when you have someone as intelligent as Lex Luthor is in the comics, especially the Golden Age comics that he was, where he was the redheaded scientist, mad scientist that he was, he kind of, where he modernizes that is he looks at the billionaires we have in today's world, the quirks that a lot of them have, like Mark Zuckerberg, like Elon Musk, all these guys, I think even Elon has autism, a little bit of autism to him. So they have these little quirks to them. And especially for the type of person that Lex Luthor is, especially in this universe, something tells me he probably had a lot of issues trying to get along with people because he was always so far ahead of them. Everyone, it's like being the smartest man in the room and not being able to have a conversation with anybody because they're just not on your level. So what does that do? Like he's probably socially awkward. And Zach really approached his Lex Luthor in such a realistic way that I think people were expecting something fantastical, like what you see in the Justice League Unlimited show, where he's buff, he's a fighter, he's a charming, rich creep. But there you're just getting kind of the other shade of Batman in a way, right? Like you're getting like the opposite, like, okay, here's another rich guy, and they're basically the same person, but one decided to use his wealth and his determination, his obsession for good. The other one decided to use it for evil. It's too much of a reflection to each other when you already have a movie where Batman is being pitted against Superman. So how do you make Lex Luthor different? That's how you do it. You make him socially awkward. You make him this character that in a way he's very much an outcast himself and doesn't understand this world, which would almost suggest why he is a psychopath. because he isn't able to recognize people as like living people, like people who matter, who care, who he gives a shit about, right? They're just vessels. They're just ghosts to him because he's beyond them. They're nothing,
Great. I'm really glad you said that, because a lot of people were like, because his whole motivation, he's like, Superman is like all powerful. God is good. He cannot be all powerful. But then why did he create Doomsday? Doomsday is going to kill people. Is what you said. Lex doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care
Yeah.
about these other people. He doesn't like. Lex doesn't mind him having power, so he didn't care
Mhm.
about Doomsday killing people. So I'm really glad you brought that point up, Trey. That was a really
Yeah.
great point.
Well,
And
it just is that kind of that revelation that he has, especially in the Ultimate Edition, where he finally has the kryptonite rock, and he has that realization that he says, okay, well, Mercy's going to have to die. This person who he's probably worked with, you kind of get the sense just from how often she's around him, how she smiles, how she interacts with Lex Luthor, that Mercy probably has a bit of a relationship with Lex and maybe understands him on a level that the others don't. And yet, in that moment, he has a kryptonite rock. He knows what he has to do next with destroying the Congress, to make Superman look guilty, to frame him. That he's gonna have to. There was really, honestly, when you think about it, there was no reason for him to really kill Mercy. He didn't have to. He didn't have to make her go in there, except for he had to make sure that it didn't look like he was connected to it, that he lost one of his people. Why would he kill one of his people? In a way, it was to protect himself legally and to rid himself of any type of people being able to point the fingers of, look what Lex did. And it just shows how sinister he is.
yes, I never thought about that, Trey. Yeah, exactly. Wow, I never thought of that. Thank you, Trey. And
That's right.
to kind of wrap this up on Lex, he was a Lex who made Superman fall to his knees. Lex did that. This is the only version of Lex that I'm okay with outsmarting Batman. Any other Lex Luthor who outsmarts Batman, I'm like, fuck, no. Jesse Eisenberg is the only Lex Luthor I'm okay doing that. It shows a testament to his character. So, at the, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And yes, Sin Havoc. Yep. And now, speaking of Lex Luthor, what he says, Martha, Martha, Martha. But again, Martha Kent's not in it too much, but I think the role she has is great. Like, I love her speech with Superman saying, you don't owe this world a thing. You never did. He's like, you can be everything or none of it. He's like, no, you're not obligated to save these people. You have the right to exist. And honestly, the way the world's treating him right now, she's like, these people don't deserve you. And that's what I like about Martha, is that she's a mom. That's what she is. She is Superman's mom. Her duty is not to the world. Her duty is to her son. And it's such a powerful scene right there. And the fact that, again, Lex Luthor uses Martha to get to Superman, which, again, a Lex Luthor can find out who figured out Batman and Superman's identities too.
Yeah.
But yes, but Martha is again, I don't have too much to say about her, but I think she's great in the role she has. Oh, right, Red Hooded Outlaw. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
I heard about that.
What's that movie called? It has Adrian Brody in it. It's all about George Reeves. Yeah, I've seen that meme when BBS was coming out. Yeah.
Corey, Martha Kent, go.
Man, Diane Lane, she's a hottie. So I guess I get it, Batfleck. But
Pretty sure Corey's gonna get us canceled.
I mean, Diane Lane is gorgeous. You can't be
you
denied.
don't think Diane Lane's hot?
Stop! You guys are gonna get me canceled.
How are we going to get you canceled and say Diane Lane's a hottie?
Okay, just go, Corey. Just go.
No, I think Diane Lane did a fantastic job. I think she, did a phenomenal job in Man of Steel, number one. She really embodied Martha Kent, the character, that mother who, humanly mother that cares about her son, and that she's Clark Kent's not or this he's not this alien that came. It's her son, and she did a really good job of portraying that motherly role in it. So yeah, I think she great casting, number one. In BVS, she continued as expected. So yeah, I don't know much more to say about that, but she's just a phenomenal actress, and yeah, I think this was a really wise choice. I personally, I think both of parents for in Man of Steel were phenomenal.
I agree.
As far as giving you that Americana farmland,
Midwestern family,
Midwestern family vibes, and that hard work and being a good person it means something in this world. Keeping your word and doing what's right, and really laying down that foundation that Superman, has then lives his entire life. I think yeah. Man of Steel, she's just so calming, when she, tells him to focus on her, and make it small, and just the moments and interactions that she has with Clark Kent and everybody else is just amazing. Sax Bulletin also agrees with me. Butler agrees. Lots of people saying Diane Lane hot as hell.
What up, Zod Writer?
Zoddy
And don't
boy,
worry,
buddy.
we covered One Punch Man. Don't worry, we definitely. And okay, Trey. Now you go, Martha, but keep in mind, Trey. Keep in mind that Wonder Wife is in the house, so be careful what you say
she
about
knows
Diane.
Gal Gadot is my celebrity crush, so I could say Diane Lane is beautiful. I mean, it's the same thing I have to deal with when she sees Henry Cavill take off his shirt, or the Ben Affleck, when he's working out scene in BBS. Like she doesn't deny herself that she's like, well, they're gorgeous men. Like I can't. Like you're right. I mean, Ben Affleck got a 12-pack there. No. To get back to Martha Kent, I think Diane Lane is such an incredible actress, and such a perfect choice for Martha Kent. Like Corey said, like she really showcases those values, that Midwestern lifestyle that really shapes who Clark is as a person. Like the whole idea of that whole idea of who Superman is as a person, of how, like, when you think about it, Superman is a miracle. It is a miracle that he comes down from a planet of super beings who could completely wipe us out, and that he just happens to land in Kansas, right, with these two people who could not have been more perfect to guide him through learning about different morals and responsibility, like all the things that make Superman who he is. It's why they came up with the idea of Superman the Red Sun, right? We see what happens if Superman lands in any other freaking place. Hell, Superman probably could have landed a couple miles the other way and may have been with the wrong family. But to land with these people, Jonathan and Martha Kent, Martha, it's one of the most beautiful moments where I think you really get a sense of he's a young cat, right? Clark Kent is young in this. He's only been Superman for what, a year and a half, maybe two, I think, in BVS.
18 months.
Yeah. And he's still figuring it out. He doesn't have his dad anymore, but his dad kind of becomes a metaphorical fortress of solitude in a way. But who does he have? Who is still around in his life that could provide him some guidance in this world that he trusts? His mom. And I think it's one of the most beautiful things when he's trying to figure it out. He's like, I'm doing all the things that my dad wanted me to be. He wanted me to be this hero. He wanted me to stand proudly in front of the human race and say, I'm Superman and I'm here to save you. I'm here to protect you, but they're rejecting me. He's like, I thought this would be the right time. I thought when he said the world wasn't ready, that when it needed me, that would be the time when it would be ready. But instead it fears me. And he's trying to figure it out. And so who does he call? He calls his mom. And I just think it's one of those beautiful things where she plays that fearful mom where she's like, Clark, like, you know, like we've all had those, like you call your mom 2 a.m. in the morning and she's just like, how's my baby? What are you okay? What do you need? You know, that motherly love and protective instincts that we have. And you know, all he can do is just like, hi mom. And just her voice calms him, just as she did back then in Man of Steel. A lot of things in Zach are full circle, right? And here it comes again. It's full circle, and she's able to provide him the words he needs, but also in a way, it's selfish is not a good word, but in terms of the selfish need to be a protective mom, right? And when I say selfish, that's not the word, right? But like when she tells him, you don't owe this world a thing. You can go on and live a good life as a person, as a human being, and no one would think anything less of you, Clark. Be their hero, be their monument, or be none of it. You choose. You know, you can live a fulfilling life however you choose. She gives him that comfort. And I think she is able to showcase in a very touching way, in a parental way for us as the audience to see Superman. Someone's giving him an out. Someone who he trusts with his life is giving him an out to say, you don't need to be this. You don't need to be Superman. You don't have to. You've done enough. You saved the world once, right? You're good. Hang up the cape. And what does Superman does? What do we all want our heroes to do? And what makes them a superhero is the fact that they never give up, even when we tell them to. And they say, no, like I need to be here. And that's what makes Superman a great character in this Snyderverse. You know, he's presented with those questions. And must there be a Superman? And the funny part is everyone in the world asks, should there be a Superman? The politician gives us the great answer. It's such a political answer. There is. But no one ever says to themselves, what does Superman want? What is his answer? Must there be a Superman? Clark can just say, no, there doesn't need to be because you don't deserve it, you know? But what does he say? Yes, I will be Superman because it's what the world needs. I'm willing to give my life for it. And that's like, to me, that's so powerful. It's so beautiful what Zach and Chris Terrio do, that it makes them those characters. It embodies what we know truly deep down are the roots and the source of who those characters are in the comics come out to real life in a real life situation. Beautiful. And Martha Kent is that. She gives Superman that reminder of it's his choice. It's his choice to sacrifice a good life, a good peaceful life versus I'm the hero the people need, you know.
Well said, Trey. Well said. And now, Perry White. I love Perry White in this movie. I think he's a great character. I like that he's trying to run his business. He's trying to run the Daily Planet. I like that he doesn't, Clark Kent, hey, we need to sell papers. We're trying to run a business here. He has that business sense. But when something's important, he knows this, he needs to do the right thing. Like when Lois says, I need the helicopter. It's not for a story. Perry White he drops, like, you can tell he's like, okay, we got to do this. This is important. And it's key moments like that that make it great. And he's another character who's not in it a lot, but when he is in it, he's great. And in my opinion, again, kind of short and sweet, I'll keep it with Lawrence Fishburne, another awesome character. And we'll go with you next, Trey. What's your thoughts on Perry White in this movie?
I mean, he's wonderful, right? Like, I think this is the theme, right? Like we talk about, especially in Hollywood, because it's such a hot topic right now, where when you do race swapping or any of those types of things that maybe doesn't feel like it's authentic to the character. But then you have the way Zach handles it, where it's like people won't question some of those things if it's done well, if it's handled with respect, if the material is juicy, right? If the writing is good and that character fits of what we know about Perry White. And Lawrence Fishburne does a fantastic job. The arguments that he has with Clark Kent, like you said, where he even kind of mentions like, hey, it's in a way, it was kind of Zach knocking on people's heads saying, this isn't 1938 with your Superman. Okay. This is the modern day real life Superman if we had him in our world in 2016. And to have that character that does kind of represent the cold, hard truth of media, public relations, and what can easily happen. Like when he says, I can't remember the female character's name, but he says, here's the headline for tomorrow. He's just like, love affair with the man in the sky, question mark.
Jenna or Jenny, something like that.
I think it's something like that, Jenny, where, but he points that question. Just something quick happens. End of love affair with the man in the sky, question mark. And here Clark has to accept that. He has to take that abuse, like kind of what the fuck did I do wrong? I just saved people. But that's the media for you. It's a taggy, catchy headline that's just going, whatever will make people buy newspapers. But here, Clark Kent's like,
click on articles.
People don't buy newspapers. Like, why aren't we talking about this? This is important. This is what we actually need to be talking about to make our society better. That doesn't sell newspapers, Clark. Shut up and go write sports. That's our world. That's literally a reflection of our world, where the truth doesn't matter. It is what the headlines will sell, what will get people clicking on that article. It happened today. We talked about it with Ben Affleck, right? With Variety.
Yep.
Misquoting him, because that's not what get people to click. That's what won't get people tweeting and resharing this post. It's all about the entertainment of it. And Perry was very much that reflection. Lawrence Fishburne's portrayal of Perry was very much to iterate that idea of how powerful and manipulative media can be.
It sounds to me, Trey, like the Daily Planet is fake news. Fake news.
Are they not?
Careful. We don't want to get too political on this channel. But that was funny.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah. But anyway, Corey, what's your thoughts?
No, I think that Lawrence Fishburne did a phenomenal job as Perry White. I think Trey embodied everything that was well said. That is media nowadays. It's not about telling the news. It's about fake news. It's about just making stuff up and getting the clicks, getting the likes. It's all about ad revenue nowadays. And it was cool seeing, how quickly even somebody like Perry White was like, yep, let's put this in there, let's have this be the headline, and but ultimately, Perry White still does the right thing when it comes down to being a person, like you said, Bat Dan, where like if somebody needs help, he's the first to go out and help. So, I think he did a phenomenal job with Lawrence Fishburne.
And Trey, I like what you said about the race swapping, because I think it really is important, because it's like, my thing with it is always, don't do it to check off a box. If there's an actor who's right for the role, and they're a different race, who cares? Cast them in it. And that's what Zack Snyder did. He's just like, Lawrence Fishburne would be good for the role. And here's the thing. If you do it right, you don't even notice it. Like I don't even notice anymore that he's race swapped. I'm just like, oh, that's just Perry White. So again, great job, Zack Snyder. Great job. Yeah, and yes, defending the narrative. And I mean, you know how I feel about the media with a certain Snyderverse actor that's been that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, was cleared, and then the media decided it wasn't important anymore because it didn't sell. So, anyways, I'm going to stop right there because we'll get too on a tangent. Super Bro, Alfred, go.
Oh boy, I'm starting Alfred. What can I say more than Jeremy Irons is probably one of the better Alfreds, in my opinion. I, you know, nah,
We've been blessed with many great Alfreds.
yeah, I was about to say one of the best, but man, how do you beat oh gosh, what's his face from Michael Keaton's
Michael Go. Yeah.
Really? I can see Michael Caine, but you like Michael Go that much? Wow.
Oh yeah, dude. I loved Michael Go.
He was very much a proper Alfred from like the well, I mean, from even the new 52 era, the 70s era, you know, he was very much that Alfred. Yeah.
I don't think Kane did that great of, like, he did okay, don't get me wrong, but like I don't think he was that, you know, phenomenal.
Interesting.
In my opinion.
I'm surprised by that.
Yeah,
Wow.
I prefer Jeremy Irons much more. But yeah, no, he just kind of gave that more of I guess I would say Jeremy Irons has that kind of that dad, you know, like a fatherly figure that Bruce Wayne needed growing up, missing from his father, you know. So it was very, you know, like, you know, strict and tough, and kind of helped, you know, really support Batman in that sense. So yeah, I think Jeremy Irons did a fantastic job.
Interesting.
And you know, I'll go next. I got to mix it up a little bit. So I think for me, wait, I go in the middle a lot. Trey, I changed my mind. Trey, you go next.
Oh, I you know, like I said earlier, we've been blessed with many great different iterations of Alfred, and I loved how Jeremy Irons Alfred was kind of more of the Batman Earth One Alfred, where he's a little more involved. He's a little more involved in terms of building the equipment. He probably taught Bruce how to brawl, and maybe had some history in being part of, you know, the British military. So he
Yes, and can real quick to expand on that further, Trey. That's what I love about Jeremy Irons' Alfred. Where Michael Caine, because I saw Sid Havoc's post about Corey versus Michael Caine. Michael Caine was that more of that motherly, nurturing style.
He was
Alfred,
a gentle protector.
Gentle protector, where I like the kind of the more grittiness of you get your shit together, let's go.
And it fits that Batman, right? It fits, like, each Alfred has kind of fit to what that version of Batman Bruce Wayne needed. This Jeremy Irons was very much, his Batman was a grittier, hands-on, you know, like in your face type of guy that he had to be equally as hard, you know, but there's still those essence of what makes Alfred, which is Alfred, he wants the best for Bruce. He very much is the father figure. One of my favorite comics that happened recently with the Rebirth era was the City of Bane, where Alfred dies, and Bruce is kind of comes to terms with who's his real father. Yeah, Thomas Wayne was the one that, you know, is his birth dad, but who was the one that raised him? It's Alfred. And he's kind of come to that point of he's literally fighting the Thomas Wayne Batman, and the Thomas Wayne Batman's trying to do a fatherly thing where he's like, you don't need to be Batman. This is not the life I wanted for you. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to be Batman. So that way you don't have to. And to the point where he's involved with killing Alfred, but you have Batman saying, like, you didn't raise me. Like Alfred was my father. You know, he was the one that was there for me when I needed it. And it opened up that really interesting question about Bruce Wayne, about his relationship with Alfred, in terms of the comics. And I saw it very much the same way of Batman. Like Corey said, they do have that banter that makes Bruce and Alfred who they are in the comics, the TV shows, the games, to live action. But more importantly, you still see that side of Alfred where he's just like, you don't have to do this. You can Bruce Wayne can get the job done. You don't have to, like, Bruce Wayne can come back. Like, you're not Batman. Like, you don't have to do this anymore. Like, Superman is not our enemy. Why can't you see that? But he's stuck in this world where he knows that the best chance he can give Bruce is to be on his team, on his side, and to help him achieve. And he also knows that Bruce is hell bent and stubborn enough to where he's going to get the job done, whether Alfred is there or not, you know. And I just think, especially where I have a good sense of what was going to go on in Batfleck's movie, in his solo movie with Deathstroke. I do think, based on certain interviews with, oh God, it's escaping me. The actor who plays Deathstroke.
Joe Manganiello.
Yes, Joe Manganiello. Thank you. Where he hinted at some things that were going to happen in that movie, and Alfred's importance to who Bruce is as a person and what happens to Bruce in between ZSJL and the nightmare that we see in ZSJL 2, kind of what they're hinting at, tells me that Bruce's arc was not done in ZSJL. He did not go full circle just yet. You saw the first half of what was going to happen to him. And so if there's one part I'm super angry about that we still haven't gotten the restoration of the Snyderverse, is where the continuation goes with their relationship, especially because there was something very powerful that was going to happen for sure.
Well, that's what Trey makes to me. That's what makes Jeremy Irons the best Alfred. Is they got the relationship between him and Bruce Wayne right. Is that Alfred is the one person that Bruce Wayne cannot intimidate, and that's because there's one key line that Alfred says. He says he compares Bruce Wayne's art of deception to Mozart and the harpsichord.
Yeah,
but he cannot lie to Alfred though. He's never
been too hot online to him. Yeah.
And that's who Alfred is. Alfred is the one person who can kind of intimidate Batman. He's the one that Batman would not talk back to.
Well, not so much intimidate, but the one that he can't fool. Alfred has seen every aspect of Bruce. He has seen the boy before that night, the boy after that night, and the man that he has become. There's nothing that Bruce can hide from him, even though, and it shows you who Bruce has become in that moment, right? His most trusted person probably in his entire world, probably you could say in Bruce's world, his world is Alfred. He can't stomach to tell him the truth. That he feels the guilt. It's like the underlying fact that Bruce can't quite admit it to himself. He doesn't even know why he's lying to Alfred. And sometimes that's humanity, right? That's like our own internal issues that we dealt with, where your body's like almost rejecting some of the actions that you're doing. It's like Bruce's inner soul is trying to tell him, dude, like what you're doing is wrong. Don't do this. And he feels guilt. So he's lying to Alfred of what he's after. I'm after this kryptonite rock so I can kill this dude. You know, Alfred was going to figure it out, but it's this moment where you can see deep down there is a hint of good in Bruce. There is a side of him that recognizes the evil that he was about to do to Superman in that final moment. And I like that. I like that there is a piece in there somewhere that Bruce doesn't quite recognize, that men are still good, you know, but it's there.
And what you just said, Trey, this is like Sox asks this question. This is actually my big issue with Alfred in the Gotham series. Is Bruce Wayne pushed that guy around? Like Bruce Wayne can't push Alfred around, but in Gotham, sir, Alfred is like, like Bruce would like Alfred would not put up any fight against Bruce whatsoever, and it was just pathetic. So that's my answer to that. I won't get too far into that because then we'll get too off topic. But yes, Alfred. I can't say anything more honestly because I think Trey said it perfectly. So we're gonna move on to Senator June Finch, and I will say this: how can someone who married Mr. Incredible, who operated as Elastigirl, how can she be so against Superman? It's like you have the power to stretch your limbs and you have superhero children. How can you be so against that? And for those again to clarify, Holly Hunter, the person who plays Senator Finch, also plays Elastigirl in The Incredibles. So, but I like
Batman
this
shocked
character.
me when he told me that earlier. It didn't connect to the dots until he said that to me before the show. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, when I saw him, I heard him like, holy shit, that's the same voice. But I think what I like about her is that again, she's a minor character, but I think she serves a great role. Is that she's a politician, but she feels like an honest politician. I know that's a bit of an oxymoron, but what I like about her, she has a strong stance on Superman. She finds out Lex Luthor's been manipulating the situation, so her view on Superman somewhat changes, but not completely. She's still not happy with the shadow interventions. But what I like is that you can kind of see it. She's like kind of against Superman at first when she has that in that hearing, but you can kind of tell she's about to transition a little bit into something more favorable of Superman before the Capitol building explodes, before she sees Granny's peach tea, so to speak. But yeah, I think not too much to say about her, but I think just she served the purpose that she needed to serve. Like she's just trying to believe in our country as a democracy, trying to get Superman to abide by that. And I guess Trey, go.
No, I agree with you. I think Holly Hunter was awesome as Senator Finch. Once again, it's a reflection of our society of how our government would have reacted to having someone like Superman in there. And I think it's telling, right, of what we look at the reflection of our society. Our society says especially in current day, that we don't really trust our government even now, right? Like society, our people, our government, we kind of look as a corrupt system at the moment, right? Like we hope for the better. We think a lot of our politicians are corrupted and manipulated by outer forces. And yet here we go. Our government in this movie is manipulated by Lex Luthor, and when the truth is revealed to her, you see her shift, like you said. And I think that's so important because what it says is, in that realistic world, that when the truth was coming out, that even she couldn't deny that Superman was a good person, that he was just trying to do the right thing, and that the perception, the manipulated media that was trying to spin this narrative that he was this all powerful force that was going to wipe us all out, or anything like that, anything negative on him. And to see that quick little turn when she starts to piece it together of what's really going on, I think is an important thing of to showcase that in that realistic world, that even when the truth prevails in that case, that people were able to conform to the idea that Superman does exist and he is here to help us, which is, that's a powerful thought in itself. So yeah, I loved her character. Thought, like, while she didn't have a long role in the movie, she played a very important part, which is an impressive thing on Zach and Chris Terrio's part, to create a character that is really just a side story, but she's so important for how we perceive Superman going forward.
Exactly. Corey, go.
Yeah, man. I don't know what more you could say about that. She did a fantastic job. Typical politician. She annoyed me a lot in the movie, and she did kind of, get a little bit better towards the end. She also blocked some of Lex Luthor's dealings, but like she just gave me the kind of those icky vibes as well too, as a typical politician. And then yeah, that's about it with her. You know, I think she played a great role and did a good job.
Exactly. And let's see, call the stream.
Pretty much, Trey's on fire tonight.
Oh yeah, he is.
What was that?
Absolutely.
Hashtag Bat Channel what?
Masterclass.
Masterclass.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we move on to this next topic, I just want to remind people, Bat Dan's Thoughts, the channel, is a political free channel. We are talking about the actors, we are talking about their characters. I mean, as much as possible. Obviously, certain parallels we have. And I already gave if you want to see my stance on Gal Gadot herself, check out my last stream I did with Josh Herrera. I thought we broke it down very well. So, just want to clarify that before we move on to this next topic. So, Diana Prince, Wonder Woman. Now, I'm not going to lie. When I wish that she was not advertised as Wonder Woman. She never should. They should have just said Gal Gadot's cast for an unknown role. That would have been perfect. That would have been perfect. And then it's like, because like when I heard Wonder Woman is in the movie, I'm thinking, oh crap, this movie's going to be overcrowded. And then when she's in it, she's like in it the right amount. She's in it enough that it doesn't overtake her story, but it helps set up the next movies. That Batman's investigating her a little bit, but it doesn't take too much of the plot away. And then just helps enough to find that there's other heroes out there. And then she just comes at the end and helps them fight. That's exactly what... She was perfect for what they had her in. She didn't overtake the movie. It didn't feel like that, oh, Wonder Woman should not have been in this movie. She was shortchanged. No, they just introduced her a little bit, gave you a little snippet to get ready for her own solo movie. But I thought Gal Gadot was phenomenal in this movie. I think Gal Gadot, in my opinion, she's the best actress under Zack Snyder. I think Zack Snyder directs her better than any other director, in my opinion. I think her performance, Zack Snyder really makes her shine, in my opinion. And in this movie here, and again, she's a lot more set up in the other movies, in my opinion, but I feel, based on how things are going, I feel like Trey will have a lot to say. So, Corey, you go next.
I'm a huge Gal Gadot fan as Wonder Woman. I think she did an amazing job as Wonder Woman. I do agree with you. I feel like DC has an issue of giving out too much information. They shouldn't have shown her in the trailer. But I feel like DC gets worried sometimes. Like they have to get that draw as much as they can. They just throw everything at it and pray to God that it's going to work. And that's I do agree that they messed that portion up. My opinion, I think she's probably the best Wonder Woman, in my opinion. I think she that I've ever seen specifically. I think she does a really good job of embodying that Wonder Woman ways and the mysteriousness and uniqueness of her. But yet she's very, proper and amazing as well. I was big fan of what she did in that movie, and this one, and the original Wonder Woman, and of course Zack Snyder's Justice League is her best. The other one, 84, wasn't great, but I hear what you're saying, Bat Dan. And kind of when you said that, you kind of put me in a little bit of a thinking about back at her other roles, Zack Snyder does direct her really, really well. So I think that's a fair statement as well. No, I think she just does a great job playing Wonder Woman. Thoughts, Trey?
Trey.
I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I thought when Zach, once again, when he revealed her in that bronze-looking picture with the destruction around her, immediately I was kind of like, he just has a way about presenting women. We talked about that with Amy Adams as Lois Lane and Diane Lane as Martha Kent, and seeing Gal as Wonder Woman, she just fit so perfectly, and I don't think, of course, Linda Carter really brought Wonder Woman to fame, especially in the 70s. But it kind of died out, right? There's no one really cared about Wonder Woman much after. Um, and she kind of reignited it again, right? Especially with the success of the first Wonder Woman movie. So seeing her in BVS and being as kick-ass as she is, like, one of my favorite scenes, right? And I love that it's become a bit of a GIF, a bit of a seductive GIF. But like when she's
Trey.
on, Sarah already knows. She already knows. But the fact that like she gives that smile when she just got knocked down to the ground by Doomsday, and she gives that little smile that she's like, she's in her zone again. She loves it. She loves
Oh
to be
yeah.
in the battle. Like it's her place of zen. It's just where she feels most comfortable. And that was awesome. Like, you're like, yes, like this is the Wonder Woman I want. And this is the Wonder Woman that I came to know and love in the animated series with Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And one of my favorite parts about that show was, and I will still fight it to this day for anyone that says Superman and Wonder Woman need to be together. No, I think Superman has Lois Lane, and I think Lois Lane is always his gal. But I think Wonder Woman and Batman in that show, they were such an interesting relationship, and I think a great yin and yang to each other, where Batman is kind of the cold-hearted, calculated prep guy that he just takes everything so seriously, and then you have someone like Wonder Woman who has a love for the world and humanity and has a bit of hope in her, that they balance each other out. They give each other those things they need, and to see Zach tease that in BBS, like as a fan of that, like huge fan, Sarah and I still every weekend, it's Sunday morning cartoons, we still watch Justice League, probably on our 5th time binging it since we started dating. And it just like, it's their relationship, seeing it in live action made me all the more excited, especially in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I just love their chemistry. Gesundheit. Gal, she's an awesome Wonder Woman. It breaks my heart that they ruined her in Wonder Woman 1984, because clearly that was a studio screw up. I could use a more explicit word. But I think if we ever get the chance again to see a true Trinity or Wonder Woman sequel, I think we'll be graced with something really spectacular, and I would love to see. To me, she is Wonder Woman. It's just Henry Cavill is Superman, Ben Affleck is Batman, Ray Fisher's a Cyborg, Jason Momoa is Aquaman, Ezra Miller is Flash. Gal Gadot very much is Wonder Woman for me, and I don't want to see anyone. I can't imagine who they could pick for the role for whatever they decide to do in the DCU, and I don't imagine they could pick anyone that was more perfect than Gal. So that's just the compliments to Zack Snyder and his casting team, because chef's kiss on that one.
Exactly. Zack Snyder made Gal Gadot a star, and I just wish that BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League was mentioned at the Gal ceremony. They mentioned Justice League, but not Zack Snyder's Justice League. But anyways,
Ugh, gross. Can't believe they did that.
Doomsday. I think they used Doomsday perfectly in this movie. You can't do anything with Doomsday other than have him be a big monster and fight people. Like, people say Doomsday was crammed in there. You can't do anything else with Doomsday other than what they did. Let's be honest here. He can't plan. He can't have a conversation. He's literally a villain that you fight. He's a monster that you fight. There's nothing else you can do with him. And I know Zach was going to do Metallo, but I think, honestly, in my opinion, Doomsday worked better for the Trinity. That's my, like, I think he actually works Like, Metallo, Wonder Woman could beat up no problem. Like, let's just be real here. Doomsday, on the other hand, that was a villain. That was like he was the perfect villain for the trilogy, for Trinity. Sorry, not trilogy, the Trinity to fight. And in a way, they kind of paid homage to Smallville, because in Smallville, Doomsday was created from the DNA of Zod and Feora.
Yeah,
Spoiler,
right.
Corey, I don't know if you got that far. Whereas in this movie, he is basically Zod's body reincarnated. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the real Doomsday. Like, he's the one who killed Superman. He is the real Doomsday as far as I'm concerned. There was some other Doomsday, but to me, the one that kills Superman is Doomsday. So, Trey,
That's an interesting
go.
thought. No, I liked the take on Doomsday. I wish they would have never showed it in the trailer, because I think that would have been a sick ass reveal. I don't agree with you in the sense that it is the real Doomsday. I see what you're saying. Like, yes, he is the one that kills Superman, but I think what Zach was going for, at least my theory, I'll put it this way, is in the new 52 DC animated universe run that they did, especially with Jay Liva, they kind of hint that Darkseid creates an army of Doomsday parademons. And I think that's what Zach was gonna do, because him and Jay were already so closely working together on concept, and even the Justice League films kind of followed a similar format and storytelling that Zach was kind of doing with his arc. So I get the sense that there was a purpose for why Zach made it clear that, hey, that moon that's in the background of Man of Steel on Krypton, that's the one Doomsday destroys. And there's another Doomsday. I don't think he said that for just like, hey, a cool Easter egg. I think there was a plan there. So that way Superman when the battle happens, right, for Earth, that we kind of get freaked out ourselves, because if one Doomsday did such a thing to our Superman, what the hell is an army of Doomsday parademons gonna happen? My man Necron, bro, it's been too long, bro. Hope you're doing good, dude.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah. But yeah, Doomsday was cool. I loved the origin aspect they did to it. To me, that makes a perfect villain for the Trinity as first go. And also, I think it, like you said, it's important that to have Doomsday, to have a reason why Superman dies. But I also think I remember the one thing that upset me, and as a Batman fan, I think it makes sense. It did upset me to have Batman kind of stand back and kind of not really get into the fight, other than kind of run away and in the perfect moment to weaken Doomsday. That was cool. That made sense to me. But I realized, because I remember,
I guess I didn't realize Batman was really a part of that fight. I saw Superman there. I saw Wonder Woman.
When I originally saw the theatrical cut, that was like the one part that kind of upset me. But then I kind of thought, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense. That was something Batman did. Like, Batman's keen to prep time, prep, right? That was something he did not foresee. That was something that was completely left field. That was like, holy shit, what do I do in this situation? And I think it was kind of a moment where Bruce said he got to really up his game for Zack Snyder's Justice League movie. He had to really develop his tech and really get back into the game, because this is the threat level that he's dealing with. So while it didn't make sense to me at the time, it made sense even more when I saw Zack Snyder's Justice League and how Batman reacted to the situation of dealing with Doomsday. But yeah, it was very, very cool.
Corey.
Yeah. Doomsday was awesome. I like Trey said, I wish that they didn't show him in the trailer, but like I said before with Gal and Wonder Woman, I feel like that sometimes DC gets nervous before movies come out and they just throw everything at you, be like, please, for the love of God, come see this, even though they don't need to. I think, yeah, I definitely remember Superman fighting Doomsday and Wonder Woman fighting Doomsday. You said Batman was there, Trey? Probably hero supporting it up. Makes sense. Probably why Superman died there. Makes sense, Trey. Makes sense. No, I think Doomsday was awesome. I liked, again. I know a lot of people criticize that Zod was DNA was a part of the creation of Doomsday, but like you said, Batman, I'm cool with that kind of being a nod towards like Smallville and that kind of theory as well too. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, I when you think about it, like there was a lot in this movie. So it's amazing that they were able to, put in Doomsday in this, 3-hour movie as well. So it's like there's a lot of stuff happening, and I think they handled it really well. So yeah, Doomsday was good.
And other characters, Swanwick was cool to see him again. Again, he didn't really do much, but it was nice to see him again and maybe set him up for Zach's further plans. Trey or Corey, any other characters you want to bring up?
Jimmy Olsen.
Oh yeah.
It, I know a lot of people were kind of upset, and it was kind of a studio mandated, like, hey, please put Jimmy Olsen in there. And Zach was kind of like, why he's not needed, and Jimmy Olsen is not always there in Superman's story, so it makes sense why he kind of killed him off. Part of me kind of also, I've heard some theories that say Jimmy Olsen's still out there, and that was just the cover name that the guy used. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter. I don't see what Jimmy Olsen would have really added to the story that was needed for that. So it makes sense why Zach did what he did. Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree. Jimmy Olsen's there's so many characters in the story that Jimmy Olsen just wouldn't really, what could you really do with him too much? So I totally get why Zach did what he did, especially if you think of Zach's story. Superman's story was a Justice League story that was Superman centric. So
Yeah.
you don't have room for all these characters. Corey, any other characters you want to address?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, buddy, and Lauren Cohen.
Don't. It breaks my heart. It still hurts.
Yeah. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, big fella. Yeah. Awesome. Thomas Wayne. Really wish that it would have happened.
Oh, yeah. And who knows? Maybe it still could. Maybe, I have a theory that Justice League 3, if Zach gets to do that. I'm saying when. I'm being optimistic that they'll do something where in one of Flash's failed attempts of time traveling, Bruce Wayne Batman meets Thomas Wayne Batman. So instead of the letter, they actually come face to face. So
you think that Ben Affleck was a good Batman? Just wait until we get a Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Thomas Wayne Batman. That's going to be.
I mean, the Flashpoint, the true Flashpoint movie, if Warner Brothers would have did it and not been a little prick about it with the Flash movie that we got. I'm sorry, even for those who liked the Flash movie, it to me it's an okay movie. It's not perfect by any means, but if it was a true Flashpoint movie, that's one of the greatest like DC multiverse stories of all time. And like all you had to do was redo the animated movie or comic, and it would have been $1 billion. Perfect. Like you can't get better than that.
I can agree with that.
Ugh, it still breaks my heart.
Even though I do love the Flash movie, so I want to say that Muschietti cut.
Muschietti.
Without Gunny Poo's notes. Now,
you're right, yeah.
Speaking of, Flash, nightmare scene. We're going to get into some moments real quick. And what I like about the nightmare scene is that it sets up the next movie with like seeing a threat that's coming, but at the same time, it sets up the current plot more because it reinforces Batman's fear of Superman. You see Flash, and shout out to Ezra Miller's introduction as the Flash. Like, great scene right there. And if you notice, after when Bruce Wayne wakes up, you see paper floating around. So anyways, but what I like about that scene is that, again, it shows the sets up the future, but it also the future plot, but it also sets up, you see why Batman's afraid of Superman. He's even more afraid of Superman. You got Flash saying to him, like fear him. So, Corey, you go.
Man, that nightmare scene was awesome. What can you say? That you don't often see Batman, mow down people and shoot them up. And that scene still gets me today. It just showed, like when we all know that Zack Snyder's Batman, probably does kill people, there, but he was just straight mowing people down with that Scar rifle there. So yeah, I still want one after seeing that. Yeah,
Here.
yeah. He that you got an amazing scene, but that is probably one of the coolest outfits and Batman I can't losing my train of thought. Batman costume wear ever as far as Dark Knight goes. Like that to me is
Still one of my all-time favorite looks.
All-time favorite looks, and I think I might like it better than the robotic
the armored Batman.
That's armored Bat, which is so good as well. But that Nightmare Batman, dude, is phenomenal. It's so dope.
I mean, there's a reason why the comics have used that look many, many times after that movie.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Anytime Batman's in the desert now, they do the nightmare look, and it's like, oh, so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Trey, what's your thoughts on? Oh, sorry, Corey. Do you have anything else you wanted to say about the nightmare?
You can go, Trey.
The nightmare scene was so shocking because I think the problem is the Dark Knight trilogy really kind of created this incorrect view that Batman doesn't use guns. And I know there are comics that kind of suggest Batman doesn't like to use firearms, but he used to. He has
the DCAU.
He has used it in different instances. So it's really just a matter of interpretation, whether you like it, you don't like it. But to me, what it showed was the fact that Batman was mowing down all these people is whatever this timeline that Batman was in, shit had gotten real and it did not matter anymore. We were in war for the fight for the earth. And it was just the choreography, the cinematography for that scene was so epic that like it still has me puzzled. It still has me wondering. And I think one of the cool parts about that scene is what Zach was hinting at, what he was building to for the rest of his arc, but also he kind of gave himself not like a cheap out, but he kind of gave us a hint that said that may not quite be what we see. Because when the Joker says, how many timelines do you have to screw up because you didn't have the cojones to like die yourself? So that means all those different iterations where Batman's dying, Bruce is seen in multiple timelines where he dies in that in different universes. So it kind of comes to the same outcome where they do get into this nightmare world. It's just how far does he get to figure it out to get to the place where they need to go to save the world. So just because we saw Zach mowing down, Ben Affleck Batman mowing down people, it's not exactly what might happen. It could be different. But yeah,
he should though.
Great scene.
Okay, we'll start now. Super Bro, Corey, we'll start with you. What's your thought on this scene?
Love it. 100% love it. We never really saw like a Fortress of Solitude, which I do really like the Fortress of Solitude idea, obviously. So like the mountain top there was kind of our, take of a Fortress of Solitude for Superman. And how cool is it that Pockets there, talking to him, his wisdom and just Oh gosh, Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is probably the best Pa Kent.
Yep, I totally
Probably
agree.
the best Pa Kent, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong. I love
We've had some good
Smallville.
ones. Smallville's
Yes.
one's great.
I love him. Absolutely love him. So he's right there with him. But as far as movies go, I think he's the best Pa Kent. Yeah, without a doubt. He just gives that, he just similar to like Ma Kent. He portrays that Midwestern love and everything like that. So amazing to like, I know a lot of people criticize Zack Snyder and Man of Steel for letting his dad die, but I enjoyed that take of it, like he was so concerned, about making sure the world was ready for his son, and he was going to do whatever to protect his son. So I liked that about him, and I think Kevin Costner just did a phenomenal job. If anything, this scene, I agree. It was Oracle Clock Tower that said it. This scene definitely kind of teared me up in it as well. So yeah, beautiful scene.
What about you, Trey?
I didn't laugh at Corey when he teared up during that scene because I'm a good brother, and that's all I have to say about that.
I think for me, I just love this scene because it teaches a lesson. No matter what you try to do, things can still end up bad. Jonathan Kent, he tried to save the horses from drowning, yet he killed the Lang's horses. And it's that thing is like, no matter how much good you try to do, it's not always going to go the way you plan. Things could always go bad, but you got to put it.
Good intentions have consequences.
Exactly. And it really, I think it helps Superman grow as a character. And it's always great seeing Kevin Costner back. I love that scene. Now, Batman v Superman fight, and then the resolution. Martha! And I'm going to just say this. Like, fight was great. I love seeing the two fight. Batman's tacticalness, like, with all the kryptonite he has. They had a good way for Batman to beat Superman. And something Zack Snyder said, the reason why they had the motivation to be Superman was fighting to save his mom is because if Superman was actually fighting Batman, he would win. He had to find a way, like, because think about it, Superman's goal wasn't to beat Batman. His goal was to get Batman to help him. Batman's goal was to kill Superman. In some ways, Superman won that fight because who achieved their goal at the end? Superman or Batman?
I don't like how you put that, Batman. Batman won. Batman won the fight.
I mean, technically, Batman won the physical fights, but that is a point I heard.
Cheap shots.
And I'm going to say, but I do got to say this for the Martha scene. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea. It never occurred to me that the reason they stopped fighting was because their mom had the same name. That never came in my head. To me, when I saw that scene, I'm like, okay, Batman thinks Superman is messing with him. That's very obvious because he's like, save Martha. You see the PTSD get to him. He's like, he thinks Superman is messing with him. Why did you say that name? That's why he is saying that. When Lois clarifies it's his mom's name, Superman realizes, oh shit, he's fighting for his mom. I can't kill him. Like, it never, not once did I see that scene and think they only stopped fighting because their mom had the same name. That is a stupid criticism from the internet. I'm sorry. It's not that hard to comprehend. Just watch the movie. I normally don't try to insult my viewers, but my God, that's not why they stopped fighting people. Batman suffered from PTSD, and he stopped fighting because he saw why Superman was fighting. Trey, go. Just talk about these two things.
I love the fight scene. It obviously very reminiscent of the Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller comics, especially with him being the armored Batman. But it also shows that Batman really did prep it because, clearly he kind of knew how the fight was going to go. There was going to be some wins, some rounds where Superman kind of gets back into the fight that he knew it would lead down into that place where he would have the kryptonite spear. And I love the taunting that he's doing to Superman in that moment, because it does very much show of how Batman views Superman, where he's like, breathe it in, that's fear, and he's saying like, you're not brave, men are brave. And I feel like that men are brave, men are good kind of thing is a underlying theme to all these movies that Zack Snyder is doing. Because when you think about it, what Batman's trying to say is, you're this almighty God that is indestructible. You've never had a moment where you're truly afraid. Like you're unbeatable. It's just like, but now what you're breathing, that fear, he's like, finally you're a man. And he's just like, and today I'm going to show you, here I am as a man standing in front of you, and who's really brave? The person that knows they're in this battle and gonna die and is still fighting. Here you are as this indestructible being, and you're not brave because you've never felt this before. He's doing all these scenes that it just shows how he doesn't understand who Superman is at that moment. He doesn't view him as a human being. He's a god, right? He's this alien creature. He dehumanizes Superman throughout the entire film until that moment of having the spear to his throat, to be like, I'm going to end you. You were never a god. You were never even a man. You were something else. And to have that Martha scene, I understood it from the moment I saw it in the theaters. And just like you, Batman, I was one of those comic book nerds who never put it together that they both had the same name. Their mothers both had the same name, but I didn't need it to be, the answer was Martha. The Martha name just stopped him in his tracks, and he was like, oh, Martha, oh, my mom. It was the fact that it was the key word that brought him back in that place, the flash of where he's no longer the boy watching the murderer kill his family and ruin his life. He's now the man with the gun pointing at the kid, and it's such a powerful moment because it shows that Batman, in that rageful moment, he can't think straight. He's so pissed off. And in that moment, he sees the vulnerability of Superman and realizes he was about to do the same damn thing. He was about to become truly that thing that he hates the most. And that's what really brings them together. It's a very incredible and powerful moment where clearly it was premeditated. People didn't understand. And part of what made me so irritated is you could clearly tell that the news outlets had this like ready to go. They didn't understand it. The audience, there was some audience that didn't understand it because they read what other people had said before. So they already had their pre-initiated ideas before seeing the movie. And yet you have in Civil War, you have this BVS it makes sense completely. If you're really watching, it makes sense, this whole arc that we go through and why Martha is the thing that makes Batman stop from doing what he's doing, to freaking Civil War, where the reason why Captain America and Iron Man decide to throw it down at the very end is because Bucky killed his mom and his dad, when he knows already that Bucky had no control over himself, literally was mind controlled. And yet people are like, yeah, that makes sense. That's cool. That makes sense why we're going to break up the entire Avengers, because Tony Stark is a dick. Like, that made me lose so much respect in terms of storytelling with the Avengers and what they did with Civil War. I was like, that made no sense to me. You're trying to tell me that is the reason why we break up the Avengers, because Tony is too blind and stupid to realize something he already knows, rather than Batman is being manipulated all the way through and is blind completely by what freaking Lex Luthor is doing. And the one thing he sees himself becoming the murderer doesn't make sense to you of why he flips sides and decides to help Superman. That was a better story arc than Civil War. And yet people just said that makes sense. Civil War is good. It's a great movie. Way better than BVS. And it was like, Nah, even without the Ultimate Edition, BVS was a far superior movie than frickin' Civil War. Sorry. Like, I will defend that forever because that reason for the Avengers to break up made no sense. You should have just stuck with the Sokovian Accords of having a disagreement politically on that rather than completely Tony Stark being a dumbass, the smartest man apparently on Earth, who cannot see that bullshit. You know, that stupid reason. While Bruce, enraged, sees his error in his ways to where he helps. Like it's a better answer in BVS than it is for Civil War. Just saying.
Sorry, how did you make the balloons happen?
Oh, it happens when, like, if I do like certain, I forget what I have to do for balloons. I think it's that. I think it's it's a piece. I don't know why it's weird. My camera, when it sees certain finger things happen, it does stuff.
Okay, Corey, you go.
I don't know how you carry on from that, man. The fight scene was fantastic, minus Batman doing cheap shots.
No throwing shit at Batfleck.
Cheap shots from Batfleck, indeed. I think I enjoyed the fight scene. I think it was kind of showed how Batman could potentially, one up, or maybe not one up, get to his level of fighting. I agree with what Trey said about Civil War as well, Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
Trey and I've had numerous discussions on that, but I also am a big fan of the Martha scene as well. I am right there with you guys. I didn't make the connection until I saw that in the movie. I was like, oh damn, like mind blown. I was like, just absolutely wild. And yeah, I don't know why people criticize it as much as they did. I thought that was a phenomenal way to kind of move things along to the next portion. So yeah.
Speaking of next portion, Batfleck fight scene, warehouse fight scene. We'll start with you, Trey.
Greatest Batman fight scene of all time. They drop the mic, leave. That's it. Yeah. That's all you can say about it.
Yeah, I agree. Greatest Batman fight scene ever.
Maybe one of the greatest superhero fight scenes of all time. Like, yeah, the choreography, cinematography is one of the great. There will be nothing that beats that, unless if they do something almost exactly like it at some point. It's so Batman.
Same thing with me. I agree totally. He's just fighting to save Martha, Superman's mom. Again, as I said earlier, I love the motivation for that fight, but that fight, we got Zack Snyder, Ben Affleck, and Richard Citrone, all three of them to thank for that awesome fight scene. There is no, that is the Batman fight scene. If you say that, one of the reasons why Ben Affleck's the best Batman, the way that fight is, again, I agree, there's no words to say, you just have to watch it. You can't really, so we'll move on now. Trinity versus Doomsday, we kind of already covered a lot of this with Doomsday, but I like this fight because I like that all three of them have something to do to stop Doomsday. Wonder Woman restrains him, Batman uses a kryptonite round to weaken him, and Superman plunges the spear into Doomsday's heart.
Batman did something during that fight scene?
Yes, he used his last round of kryptonite, Corey. Did you watch?
I just don't recall him doing much of anything there. Has this big armor suit and can't, he can play.
Trey, what's your thoughts on this fight scene?
It was really cool. I remember at one point, because as a Batman fan, I don't ever like to see my character kind of on the sidelines, but so when I first saw it, my first initial reaction was like, I want Batman more involved. And kind of where I saw the story of where Batman could have been involved, to me it almost made sense that Batman's original mission at that point, which was to get the kryptonite spear, it made sense for him to go save Lois and get the kryptonite spear. But once I saw what happened with ZSJL, it made sense to me of why it was kind of important for Batman to realize he was kind of out of his depths on that one, and to see that Superman was, he had one shot,
Hey,
one opportunity. What?
you're gonna get go on. Just saying, you're gonna get Corey. Don't prove Corey right, but anyway, go
But
on.
I mean, he had one shot, and he had to wait for the perfect moment, and he takes it, and he saves the day in a sense.
Not really save the day.
Superman couldn't kill him if that grenade didn't go off. Big fella.
I feel like Superman and Wonder Woman would have figured it out. To be honest,
they wouldn't have.
Batman really didn't do much in that fight. And I get it. He the best he had was in the warehouse scene, so he gave it his all there. So we appreciate that fight scene from Batman. But in this fight, it was really just Superman, Wonder Woman fighting Doomsday there, because Batman was clearly out of his league. Go figure, right? He spent all this time, trying to be all frustrated about Superman. That, it was really just disappointing to see. Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kaiju, absolutely. Well, I have to humble these Batman people, Kaiju. They think Batman is they think Batman is a god in this sense here, and
I mean, he does become one in the comics. Darkseid War, big fella.
And Wayne Enterprises, it's more like Godzilla and Kong love each other. Anyway, go on, Corey.
At least Ben Affleck's Batman knows what his superpower is, and that's being rich. So about all he's good for is being rich, being a funder, and
Are you trying to get yourself kicked off?
I'm just saying, like, he could have done more. I feel like if he did do more, if he actually was a part of the fight more, Superman may not have to die. So,
anything else you want to say about the Trinity, about this fight, aside from insulting Batman?
no, I think that's about it. No, I agree with you, Trey. Him putting the perfectly placed spray was important for the movie and the fight scene, but at least he helped in a way.
Just skip it.
Hero support is Batman. Batman is hero support.
I'm just gonna end this topic real quick by saying that, it's so cool to see the Trinity fighting together. That was awesome. The Wonder Woman score plays for the first time. That was epic. And now, since there's nothing left to say about this fight whatsoever, Corey, we're gonna move on to. Okay, I'm sorry, Corey. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Batman is Batman. I just created a poll in the chat. Let me know how everybody is feeling.
Wait, you can create polls in other chats?
No. He's.
Oh.
Next topic, Batman. Good God.
Yes. Was it too soon for the death of Superman? And I'm gonna start with this one, because I'm gonna say a hot take. Now, granted, I haven't really read the comics, but based on like these other iterations I've done it, let's be honest here. It was shock value. It was done for shock value. Whereas, and I have another question. Why does a temporary death need to be built up? If this were a permanent death, you would have more of an argument. But it's a temporary death. If anything, it should be sooner in his career when that happens. But what I think it does, it serves a greater purpose, is that it inspired Batman to form the Justice League. This is what inspired Batman right here. And it's what embraced the public's perception of Superman, is that he died for them. Because, like, think about it. What else could Superman have done to make the public mostly unanimously trust him? Like, because at the end, most of the public, the vast majority of the public now trust Superman. He's no longer this divisive figure. What else could he have done other than sacrifice himself to save them? That's all he can do. So, no, it wasn't too soon. I think that's this whole, like, oh, it has to be earned. No, it doesn't. Okay? Like, I'm sorry, but when I see these other deaths of Superman, like Justice League, the animated series, as much as I love that show, I didn't necessarily like the Death of Superman two-parter. I think it was just all like, the Justice League is useless without Superman, and we're going to spend half of it like Superman just trying to get home, and Lobo joins the team for some reason. as much as I love Justice League the animated series, that was a mess. So, anyways, Corey, you're the Superman guy. What's your thoughts?
No, I didn't think it was too soon for the death of Superman. Batman wouldn't truly become the hero that he is in Zack Snyder's Justice League if it wasn't for Superman dying. So I think it had to happen. No, and Doomsday does kill Superman. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you're right. Yeah, you're right, Kevin.
Yes, actually, real quickly, I'm just going to jump back to this real quick. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Martha's a trigger word for him. I totally forgot I was going to say this in the opening. Martha was a trigger word because Thomas Wayne says that right before he dies. So that's another reason why it messes with him. Thank you for reminding me about that. Anyway, anything else you want to say about this one, Corey?
No, I think it was fine for the story.
Trey.
I agree. I think it was fine for the story. Like Zach said in that interview between when he was starting to film for Justice League, he said there had to be a reason for the Justice League to come together. And when you have someone like Superman, it doesn't really present the necessity for a group of strangers and outcasts to form a team, but to have his death be the inspiration of Batman know that a bigger war is coming, it becomes important. It becomes a necessity. So no, it wasn't too soon for his death. It just showed that there's a bigger problem out there, and it makes Superman's mythology to that world even more powerful for when he does return. So no, it's not too soon.
The ending, overall, I love the ending, seeing everyone come together, Superman getting a funeral, Clark Kent getting a funeral, and then again, Lex Luthor's threat that it's coming, the bell cannot be unrung, sets up the sequel to Zack Snyder's Justice League so perfectly. And when Zack did the watch party, teased Zack Snyder's Justice League, teased the Snyder Cut, and then Vero cut out, it was like... Trey, what's your thoughts on the ending of this movie?
It's a great ending. It's a sad moment, right? It's tragic, but the fact that Batman gives one of the best speeches in the entire movie is the whole, men are still good. And I think that's so important for where you saw Batman start in the beginning to where he ends, is that Superman saved Batman's soul. He brought him back to the light, which will solidify their relationship in the long run, of what is going to be. He still fears Superman. He still knows what is possible, but it's Superman very much gives Batman his humanity back at the end of the movie. And
what can I say except
you're welcome. And it's just a great ending. I love that it hints to Superman's resurrection, and the tragedy that Lois obviously feels at the end. It's heartbreaking, but yet uplifting, and that is Zack Snyder and Chris Terrio for you. It's those complexities and gray areas that they just do so well.
100%, Trey. You're absolutely right. The ending was phenomenal. The two funerals was interesting as well. Seeing people like how the general public felt about Superman, but now also like the Clark Kent, him as a man side of things as well. You're 100% correct that Superman saved Batman, and not just Batman, but he saved Bruce Wayne. I think he realized that he was Bruce Wayne at that point, and that men are still good, and that he was a good man again. So, and look what he does. He becomes a hero now. Normally, he's just serving out justice. Then in Zack Snyder's Justice League, it sets up him becoming a hero. Saving, potential lost cause, finding a way to do whatever he could to, who knows what could have happened? He saw what happened with Doomsday, like bringing him back to life. It was a super risky move, but he knew it had to be done, and Batman at least owed him that. So I think it changed overall Batman's view on being a hero. So he actually became a hero after Superman was killed. He's like, okay, that's what a superhero is. So that makes sense. I guess I may have to give up my life in the future someday.
I mean, that's how Zack's arc's supposed to end. Batman. Which would probably be a good way to end the arc, honestly. I legit think that's a great way to end the arc. And anyways, other thoughts on Batman v Superman? I'm sorry. Michael Keaton Batman has killed. Val Kilmer's Batman has killed. Christian Bale, the Batman who doesn't kill, burned a whole hut to save one person. Two-Face didn't trip. Talia didn't crash. Batman, even that Batman killed. Get over Batman killing in Batman v Superman. It's very hypocritical.
And use the gun to do it. The Batman who says no guns, no killing, used a firearm on his bat plane.
Just shows you how much a hypocrite Batman really is.
That's interesting, Chris.
Just hypocritical, these people who go after him. Like,
yeah, it is silly.
Anyway, I guess eeny, meeny, miny. Well, let's just get this over with. Corey, any other thoughts you have on Batman v Superman?
No, I think overall, this movie was a great movie. I actually enjoyed the theater version, and then when the Ultimate Edition came out, I was just blown away. So, I obviously I'm always down for Ultimate Editions, director's cuts, and such like that. And I wish they would have. I wish that was the first version I would have seen. But overall, either way you watched it, it's a good way. But I always suggest watching the Ultimate Edition.
Absolutely. Trey?
I still look at as one of those movies that it's ahead of its time. And like Watchmen, which we've seen Watchmen get more respect as it's gone on. When it first came out, a lot of people were kind of like, whoa, this isn't X-Men. This isn't Spider-Man. This isn't even the freaking Batman 1989 or Superman films. It was something ahead of its time, and now people are looking at it as a serious piece of cinema literature, and that's exactly what BVS is. It's a deconstruction of the superhero genre, which makes it very intriguing, and we're still talking about it 9 years later. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of superhero films that do that, and this one does.
Well said, Trey. Well said. And now, just final thoughts and rating. I guess we'll start with you, Corey. What are your final thoughts, and what would you rate this movie as?
It was a phenomenal movie. I've talked about this before. As far as the Zack Snyder trilogy goes, I've always been I guess to rank them, I've always been Man of Steel first, then Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then Batman v Superman. And that's not Ultimate Edition. That's not by any means by the Ultimate Edition or Batman v Superman not doing it. One
has to be worse by default.
Right. So I think it's tough to rate, but I think I'm going to go 9.7 on it. 9.7 overall rating. Phenomenal movie. In my opinion, one of the best superhero movies out there. Has some of the best fight scenes out there. You see Batman get saved. A huge introduction to Wonder Woman coming back as well. Just so much stuff going on. I think overall it was just really, really well done. And yeah, 9.7, I think, for me.
Okay, great, really great rating. Trey, what about you?
Uh, I, when people ask me how do I rank the Zach's trilogy, I honestly can't. I love them
Well,
all for different reasons.
mhm,
And they're such different movies that like you almost can't like compare them.
rank them.
Um, but I love BBS because as a Dark Knight Returns Frank Miller fan, that's the comic that made me really fall in love with Batman. And I read it. I mean, I wasn't born when that comic came out. I didn't see the great gravitas change that it did to comics, psychologically for people, and how it was a cultural change. I just read it after the fact, like 10 years after the fact almost. And it still held an impact on me of how this man can look in the face of a god like Superman and say that fantastic quote, I want you to remember the one man who beat you. um and it was that moment of like you can put your mind and do anything. So to see that kind of come to life in live action with Zach was a dream come true, um and show that it was possible to do in a serious way without it being silly. And I will forever love this movie. It's as simple as that. If I had to give it a score, 9.8 was kind of the score that popped up in my brain when thinking about it. But seriously, it borderlines that 9.8, 9.9. I have that question in my mind of the Doomsday Trinity fight scene of what would have it looked like if Batman did go to save Lois and did get the kryptonite spear, and whatever happens after that kind of thing. I don't know. To me, I still wonder what that would have looked like, and if that would have made it better. I don't know. Um, it's really tough to do because I get why Zach did what he did with Superman there. Like it was important for him to die in that movie. So I love it still though. 9.8. It's a masterpiece.
Exactly. Just it's such a great movie, and it's like something you said, Trey. I really like is that it's hard to rank the three movies, and that's what I like about it. I like that you can't decide which one is better. Is that
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's interchangeable. I mean, me personally, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition, then Man of Steel. But like, if someone said it was like the reverse, I wouldn't argue with them. If someone said Batman v Superman was the best, I wouldn't argue with them. It's
Yeah.
that. I mean, that's what's so great about Zach's trilogy is that I like it when it's like they're interchangeable. I like when one's not like infinitely better than the other. I like that there's something about each movie. And I think this is a great setup for the extended DC extended universe because this to me is the setup for the DCEU. Because
Yeah.
before just Man of Steel, Superman verse, Superman universe. This is what sets up the actual extended universe right here. And I think this is phenomenal. And to me, there is one version. It's the Ultimate Edition. The other version is just a chopped up version. I will never watch it again. It's like lobster without butter.
Yeah.
It's good, but why would I? If I can have lobster with butter, why would I choose to have lobster without butter? That's the
Yeah.
way I look at it. There's no reason. I only watched it last year because I wanted to support it on Netflix because of the Sell campaign. Sells the issue to Netflix, sells Snyderverse to Netflix.
Yeah.
But when I saw it, I'm just like, I really just rather watch the Ultimate Edition because that's the real version of the movie right there.
And I think the thing, and this just popped up in my mind while you're talking about it, that like I really wanted to hone in on too of why I partly love this movie. We've seen so many times as Batman fans where he's such a grounded character, and he's a real easy character to ground, right? He's a human being, he's a detective noir kind of thing. Like you can make it easy, right? To really ground him and put him in a realistic world where it's believable. But I grew up watching the Justice League Unlimited and Justice League Animated show. I've seen Batman hang out with these super beings and hang on their level. He's in an important member where there's that wonderful epilogue episode, I think, in the first season of Justice League Unlimited, where Amanda Waller admits that like Batman is she says he's the most important person on that Justice League. Without him, it doesn't work. And which is why she creates Terry McGinnis, right? To have his DNA so that there would be a Batman after. And I love that. I loved finally in Batman cinematic lore and films, we got to see a Batman that could go up against Superman toe to toe and fight him, could go up against, in Zack Snyder's Justice League with all these parademons, with Steppenwolf. He could fight with them. And what does Warner Brothers do with that? They go back to what we've already seen before with, doing detective noir, where Batman can't be in this fantastical world, of giants and gods. So it kind of really bums me out that, like, I want to see the Batman that can go toe to toe with these larger than life beings and prove that men are brave, men are good. He's there to save the day. I love that. I love that version of Batman. It's Kevin Conroy's Batman, in my opinion.
And Kevin Conroy even said that, that to him, Ben Affleck is the best live action Batman. He said that.
Yeah.
And I think, and yeah, that's exactly how I feel for me. It's like, introducing Batman in the larger DC universe, no longer just this grounded Batman. I love this movie. It's always a movie that made me happy. And think about it. If the fight for the Snyder Cut proved that this movie was loved, because if that movie was hated, there would be no Snyder Cut. People would this release the Snyder Cut campaign would not have happened if BVS was this critical failure that everyone claims. It made money. People wanted to see it. That it was a good movie. And if Warner Brothers had gone on with Zack's plan, they would have been swimming in cash, but they didn't. So here we are. And I hope we get that Batfleck movie. We absolutely need it. Ben, I'm fine with just the one movie because I think that was all that Ben Affleck had planned. That's a perfect arc for him right there. And I think for me overall, I'm going to give this movie, you gave it 9.7, you gave it 9.8. I should give it 9.9 based on that, but I'm going to go, I'm going to give it one more, 10, a full 10. I think to me,
10. Woo.
I love this movie to death. It's such a great movie. And
can I ask the question to
sure.
Everybody? Which movie out of the three did you watch the most? Have you seen the most?
I don't know, honestly. I haven't
For
kept
me,
track.
it's easy. Man of Steel for me, obviously. I watch Man of Steel on the regular basis, so
I don't know. Part of it is because we were trying so hard to, ensure.
Hey, playing it while you are sleeping doesn't count, big fella.
That's okay. But if we're going through that, I can definitely tell you, Man of Steel does not win.
Yeah, I'm just saying, which one wins the most for you? Like, which one have you watched?
BBS has been out longer, so probably nowadays I don't watch one without the other, if that makes sense. Now they're tied for me. Before that, it was BBS. BBS I was watching on a regular basis, just because of it being basically a Dark Knight Returns movie,
Boom.
I'm the same way, Trey, honestly. I think BVS is what I watched the most because I would watch that a lot by itself before we got the Snyder Cut. But since we got the Snyder Cut, honestly, I watched the Snyder Cut a few times by itself, but now I'm like you, I watch them together. I'll watch them all at once, or I've done a marathon, like one each day, but I typically like to watch them together unless it's an anniversary or like BVS this week and Zack Snyder's Justice League last week. So, but again, Zack's trilogy is so good. The fact that it's this debated is a testament. And coming up, I'm going to tell you right now, at some point, I don't know when this is going to happen, there is going to be a Zack Snyder's Justice League review on this channel. And Trey and Corey, you are going to be involved in it, but it's going to be in a different way than these last two reviews are. And I'll tell you about my plan backstage because I am actually really excited about this one. And what's coming up on the Bat channel?
What about the Justice League? Are we going to watch out? Or we're going to review that one?
Shut
the Justice League.
Trey, what's coming up on your on the Bat channel?
Oh, well, we have a lot coming up. We have some trailer reactions coming up. Obviously, we're getting excited about Andor Season 2. That's going to be coming out soon. We will probably do a review once all of Daredevil Born Again is out. I'm going to binge it all so I can just kind of experience it all together. I've heard great things. I know you've been reviewing the Daredevil show from Netflix and stuff, so I'm excited to see your take on it. But yeah, a ton coming up on the Bat channel, so make sure you guys stick around because we have some cool things.
Absolutely. And I cannot wait to see more Bat channel. I love your guys' content and, you know, the DC channel that covers Godzilla.
A lot more to get.
Oh, I know.
Bat channel is the state of mind. It's where you go. Same bat time, same bat channel. You know.
And you all know that we all love each other here. But for me, I guess coming up for me, other than that, is Marvelous Discussions. I am gonna try to get the Daredevil season 2 review finally edited out, which has the non-spoiler review of episodes 1 and 2. I admit that's a little outdated now because I put it off so long, but I'll get it out because I've had some headaches and I've had some personal stuff, exciting personal stuff, mind you. We'll actually find out about that. You'll find out about that soon. We'll say that because it will have some impact on this channel, but in a good way. In a good way. So be on the lookout for that. And guys, if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell for more unique takes, interesting thoughts, and great discussions and banter such as these. 550 subscribers. Get me there, and we'll do my special 500 subscriber celebration. I always like to go 50 above because I like to have that cushion because, you know, subscribers are finicky. So,
hey, if you get Batman to 500 subscribers, I'll actually admit that Batman might be more than hero support.
Maybe. I'm already at 500, so...
Well, then what's the next milestone? 5,000?
That's worth it. I might just pay some bots.
No, I don't want fake.
Does anyone know where you get some bots? I just need Corey to admit that Batman's the best.
That would take 1 million. 1 million.
And you can catch us. You can catch any one of us on our channel. Same bat time.
Same Bat Dan channel.
Pow! Have a fantastic day.
Fantastic day.
Boom.
Corey.
Batman's hero support. Hero support, Batman. Hero support. Batman sucks. Hero support. Hero support.